warrior song. Give my back to the sun when I rise, and the one chosen for the day crown. The warrior song with the little guns come when I wanna bust guns on the run when I come with the warrior song. Give my back to the sun when I rise, and the one chosen for the day crown. The warrior song.
It's about to go up, break them like internet. Goofies try to run up, we leave them in the dead.
You say, okay, I have a lot of money, but you have no money unless you take profits.
When the first ever spot ETF was created for gold 10x.
And the only thing I really knew was Bitcoin at the time, so I just invested very heavily into that. Rode it all the way up.
What's up?
My name is Jeff. Even the creators have said it's going to be the predecessor of CBDC.
What that taught me was that I need to be self-sufficient.
A solid DCA investment strategy, and pretend the red sell button doesn't even exist.
We about to go up like.
And
ladies and gentlemen,
are live.
Ladies and gentlemen,
I love that soundbite. We can play it as many times as we need to on repeat. In fact, we'll just take up this whole 2-hour stream, or fuck, we'll go for 24 hours just playing live over and over again. Aloha, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. Welcome to the DGen Roundtable stream. We're going to be talking about the 2FUCks and the bribery systems today. Joining us for this fantastic interview is Mr. Fast Abdoul. But before we get into that, I'd like to welcome the panel. Panel, how's it going? Nate, what's up, man? How you been? It's been a whole day since last we spoke.
I know, it's been such a long time, and the day before that too. Whew, wow, man. I feel like I haven't seen you forever. No, just having a good old time. You know, I don't understand what's going on over here in my state, my great state of Minnesota. 2 weeks ago, it was 40 degrees out, no snow. And then this last week, it's -2 and lots of snow. And now all of a sudden, we're back up in the 40s again. It's just, it's a ride, man. It's a ride, I'm not going to lie. But yeah, I'm the Ascending Man. I am going to be here to talk bribes, eh?
Excellent. Good to see you, Nate. Jay, what's up, bro?
How's it going, fellas? Glad to be here as always. I'm doing fantastic. The storm has finally passed over Arizona, and I've had a backlog of projects that I have been putting on the back burner because it has been raining and my workshop is outside, and so they have been under the tarp sitting and waiting for me to get them done. So I finally was able to start on that today. So everything's good, man. At the very least, since we last spoke yesterday. But I'm very excited to be here. Very excited to speak to Abdoul and to learn about the 2FUCks protocol, because you know the way that I think of things, right? It's when we find the projects that we like, we tend to hyper focus on them and zone in on those things and tend to just pay attention to those things. And so I like taking these types of opportunities to learn about other different ecosystems, other projects, because it's just going to broaden your skill and broaden your knowledge when it comes to cryptocurrency as a whole. And so that's what I'm looking forward to the most here with Abdoul. So yeah, man, looking forward to it.
Excellent. And then the man of the hour, Mr. Fast Abdoul. What's going on, bro? We spoke a little bit yesterday, but tell us how are things going over in your neck of the woods.
Well, thanks for having us, boys. It's it's good to be on here again with coffee instead of beer today. It's like some of you guys, we have snow. Except for us, the snow doesn't go away until mid-May. So, you know, that's business as usual. Though it's been one of the best winters on record in Canada as far as short. Like, we actually didn't have snow until into December. I don't remember that ever happening in my life. So we feel like it's almost a vacation year.
Excellent. Well, it's good to hear that things are going well up there. We're going to do a real quick round of community shout outs here. We've got quite a few players in the game. Look at that. Chocolate Taint. Shout out to Chocolate Taint. Josh couldn't join us tonight. He's with his lovely daughter, Elena. So shout out to Elena. And shout out to Josh. I don't know if she's watching live right now, but Elena, I hope that you're having an excellent time with your father right now, and I hope you're all doing great. And next up, we've also got Alan Fizameh. Alan Fiz. I don't know how to pronounce that, dude. But that reminds me of
Alan Fizameh.
Alanfizima? Bro, that sounds like it's from like the 1999 Mummy movie with like Rachel Weisz and Brendan
Fraser?
Fraser.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Brendan Fraser. Yeah. Great
Alanfizima
movie.
is one of like Imhotep's priests or something. He actually showed up early to one of these. Well, congratulations. Good job being on time, Alan. Next up, we got Winter Rose saying, "Oi, oi, right back to you, Winter Rose." Then we got Alex
Thunder.
Santos. Like the video. Alex is absolutely right. Ladies and gentlemen, like, comment, subscribe, share this show around with all your friends. Tell your family about it. Tell your coworkers about it. Tell your teachers. Tell your friends. Do all that good stuff. Get us rolling in these algorithms. And then also we've got Crypto Sloth in the house. Yo, 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 Crypto Sloth. What's up, Bart? What's up, buddy? It's good to see you. Good to see all these folks in the chat. And if we have anyone else, I'm do a quick shout out. Oh, we got Fast Abdoul in the chat. Let's talk Bribes. What an excellent little transition. So, Fast Abdoul, we're here to talk about Bribes. We're here to talk about 2Fucks. We're here to talk about all sorts of cool things. So, before we get into that, I would like to do a quick little deep dive into who you are, what roles you've played in the Richard Hart ecosystem, a little bit of your history and all that stuff. So I guess let's get started with how long have you been in, or not how long have you been in crypto, but you've been in the Richard Hart ecosystem since the sacrifice phases have begun, right? Was that the sacrifice for Pulse Chain or for PulseX?
Yeah, actually, it was the PulseX sacrifice was the first thing I participated in. So I missed the Pulse sacrifice, like many others. I FOMO'd into the PulseX sacrifice, and then I participated in other community sacrifices and projects in various ways from that time on. So it was a bit of a shocking entry into the system, but I learned a lot in the 2 years and change that we waited to have this wonderful chain. And I am actually, in the long run, I've been become thankful for that time, because that's what allowed me to progress to the point where I can build in this ecosystem.
Okay, well, excellent. Yeah, you've been in the ecosystem longer than I have. By the time I joined, all the sacrifices were all done and over with, and everything was like, everything was in the mud, and people were bitching about the price being low. And I was like, I love this thing. This is great.
Yeah. I was there for that too.
Tiny blue skies for me, so I am not envious of missing the bad. It would have been nice.
Hey, you want to know what's funny? I was actually because my history with 2021 and 2020 was just whatever was getting hyped up I was buying, and then I was just getting dumped on. One of those was actually the PulseX sacrifice. I'm not even gonna lie. I was like, oh, throw $1,000 at it. Let's go.
Oh, that's awesome.
Let's get 1,000x.
And maybe it will, but not today.
Break even, boys. All right, excellent. So I've also heard you mention that you've adminned a few of the other third-party projects that are going on in the Richard Hart ecosystem. Are you inclined to talk about any of the other stuff you've been in, so that way like folks at home might know, like, hey, this guy's been around, he's been doing things. Like you're relatively doxed now,
on Telegram in the Pulse community likely recognizes Fast Abdoul. Not me, more of a camel trader type swirly fellow who gets a lot of death threats, but it is actually me. I've been helping in various chats. A lot of people think I'm in more rooms than I am, just because I help people in quite a few different ecosystems, and I'm aware of just everything that's going on. But Internet Money and Power City are two of the bigger ones that I've been involved with, and there's some others as well. Tetra, of course, I'm very involved with Tetra. I'm happy to help any of those guys still, like when I can, I'm in there, I'm answering questions. Now that I have this LP component that I've become an expert on, I find that sometimes in those chats, I can, answer questions about liquidity providing and things like that as well. Though, I keep my projects separate from theirs. It's not my place to shill what we're doing in their chats, but I'm still happy to help the various users on Pulse Chain.
Well, excellent. Cool. And then also, go ahead, Jay.
Quick question. So I just wanted to know, Abdoul, so when you mentioned these different projects and your involvement in them, are you more involved with like the software development aspect of it? Or more like the front end, like helping with the marketing, etc.? So what was your involvement in these projects more specifically?
Okay. Well, like the projects that I just mentioned. So I mentioned Internet Money, Power City, and Tetra. So with Internet Money and Power City, I'm just an admin in their Telegram room. I'm just there to help people. I'm not part of any sort of team. With Tetra, I do a little bit more. You could say that I'm a consultant of sorts, and I interact with Stu and Neil and Red Squirrel and Ben and Quinn and the higher ups there. We're in the same room together, you could say. So I'm a little more actively involved on a daily basis with Tetra and how that goes forward. Though clearly Stu is in control of that organization. So very happy to work with those guys. And then another project, Hocus Pocus. I've been working with those guys too. They have a very innovative NFT marketplace, and a lot of things going on. And there's more coming from them. They have now a farming wizard that actually will have some incorporation with my protocol, probably, because it's just like it's going to be a giant database of all the farming opportunities on the Pulse chain, and it's coming along really nicely. Right now, it's just kind of a display thing. Like it's like you can look, you can see what's there, but it already works, and it's just going to get better. So these are all good teams. They're solid. And the ones that I actively work with, where I'm not just an admin, I don't mind saying that like I have great confidence in these projects.
Looks like that last one that you mentioned, Hocus Pocus with the farming wizard, is right up Nate's alley. He likes the money printers.
100%, man. You got to get them.
Yeah, you got to read the small print on some of those money printers, though, Nate. So not all the money printers have things like verified contracts or audits. We can talk about that.
The important stuff. Yeah,
it's a consideration. So no, it's okay to roll the dice. Like being a degen's being a degen, and you can do that with yield farming. But like if you're yield farming something that's 8,000%. APR, and it's not a verified contract, like, okay, sure, throw $100 at that, but like, it's not going to last. And be very careful. Don't use your regular wallet. Be very conscious of how you move in and out of that and everything that you approve, because some of these things could go poorly, though some of them could be fantastic. Maybe it's just something that's just started and they're on their way to becoming a more substantial project. So, you have to keep an eye on what's happening on chain. And yield farming is a big part of that. I think it's DeFi yield farming in particular is going to be a huge narrative for this crypto cycle, because people are really in tune with that. But there is danger with yield farming. Just because it's called farming and it sounds all wholesome, it doesn't mean it's safe.
Agreed.
Yeah,
Agreed.
100%.
I think when people think of farming, especially since a lot of folks were still relatively new to DeFi in 2020, right? Because that was the big narrative in 2020. It's like DeFi summer in 2021. People think farming like, oh, you mean like farming resources in Farmville? And I could just kind of like,
that'd be so safe. No.
And then suddenly the next day you wake up and then your entire farm is gone, right? Your crops are gone, your livestock is gone, your herding dog is gone, and your barn is gone, your tractor's gone, everything's gone. So
exactly.
Yeah, and a part of that, especially when it comes to like LPing, is sometimes you put your money in, you can't get it back out. They actually have locks on it. So one of the biggest dangers, I would say, is actually it's fun to do this, especially with newer projects, but it's extremely dangerous, is APR or APY hunting. When you're going after those thousands, 10,000 APYs.
Yeah.
Danger zone.
If it sounds too good to be true, sometimes it is not true. Now, sometimes in crypto, it is true, which is like kind of, makes it a little bit more confusing. But like, if the number is really silly, at the very least, I have confidence in saying it's probably not sustainable. And sometimes that's the case. Like, it's not necessarily something's a scam, though sometimes it's a scam, but it might be like you go into something, it's crazy high numbers. Those numbers go down extremely quickly and you could be left holding the bag, even though it's not a scam. It's just like if the token that you're farming like goes down by, 90% in, 3 days, right? With the way liquidity providing typically works, you're going to end up with more of the token that's worth less money by default. So you really have to weigh the pros and the cons, have an understanding of impermanent loss, and know and verify the yields that you're getting and know how that interacts with the impermanent loss to make sure that you're actually ahead, right? So, and to have a bit of a long-term perspective, not that your plan's okay, Nate, you can get in and get out on some of these things, but if you go into the liquidity providing concept with a long-term perspective, and then the yield farming, which, I'm going to say is a little bit different than just liquidity providing. If you think of that as a long-term thing, you can make some pretty solid plays. Like there's things on the Pulse chain that have been paying, over 100% or close to 100% APR for months and months and months. Like not just for a week, not just for a day. Like it's continuously you have these options for APR. So that's it's a different game than the degen hopping, and that's not really the focus of our protocol. That's for sure. We're looking for more of a long-term play. We're looking for things that are bear market proof, right? Like, because crypto doesn't end necessarily if you sell at the top of the market. If you sell at the top of the market, it keeps going. So what are you going to do in the bear market? Are you going to cash out and buy a Lamborghini, or are you going to turn to stables and then like yield farm stable pairs, $1 to $1, no impermanent loss? And if you could make serious yield, like up to 70% on the Pulse chain right now with something like that, well, imagine you did that for 2 or 3 years during a bear market. How good would it be when it was time to buy again, right? And you could deploy all that extra yield. That'd be interesting.
Oh, absolutely, man. And like you're correct, right? When you are like APR hunting, one of the things that you can do is like, hey, look, I found 1,000 APR or 1,000 APY, right?
Yeah.
But the coin is literally just dipping.
Sure.
So what you would do is number one, you would try something like a small amount, like $10, put it in there, right? Okay, I can pull it back out. Cool. And then you throw your stuff in there, and then you're selling like every single day as it's going down. And pretty soon you hit that point where even if the APY is like 1,000, that coin is just dropping so much it's not even worth it anymore, right? So you pull it out, and then you're correct. That's actually one of the original things is like I'm really busy, right? I don't got a lot of time to be looking at charts and doing all these swing trades and crazy stuff, right? It's like I need to set it, forget it, good to go. And so something like the latest one right now that I'm thinking is absolutely amazing is liquid loans, right? The liquid loan stability pool. Now all I need to do is literally set it in there and just let the APR go. It's literally just printing me free money at this point while my stables are just sitting in there. It's perfect.
That's the downside though, because liquid loans, like I agree with you, that's a very strong, safe product, especially with the stables thing, right? And that's that's not traditional liquidity providing, but like that's more or less what you're doing is that same sort of transaction, and you're taking that yield, which you can take by the minute on liquid loans. It's very solid. You can definitely put the money in and take the money out. It works every single time. The team is solid. There's audits, all those things. But the downside right now, and right now, maybe we're in a dip right now, maybe we're not, but like I think I'm fairly confident in saying that we are not at the top of the bull market right now, right? And so to have too much of your position in stables, like long term, that might not be the win, right? So when you look at farming, like liquidity providing in a farming scenario, and you have two tokens together that are of similar value that might move up and down in the market at a similar rate, and maybe one's going to be higher one day and one's higher another day, and you'll have that temporary impermanent loss. That's why they call it impermanent loss. But you'll also experience the bull market. You'll experience the green candles inside that liquidity providing. So you could have two things that you bought them for $1 each, you pair them together, and one goes up to $9 and one goes up to $10 during the course of the bull market. And during that entire time, you're taking out additional yield on a daily, weekly, monthly basis because you're liquidity providing, and perhaps in a farming scenario where there's an additional token that you're getting as yield, right? And so that's something that I'm, focused on with my own things right now is like, where can I experience the bull market and still be able to pull out, daily, weekly, and monthly yield to provide for my family and just, take care of regular things so that I can have more in the market and still have this yield that I feel like I could sell if I need to, or in some cases, if the yield is a quality token, like the FUX token, for example, I can reinvest it. I can, I'll have other liquidity providing options or staking options with a token you get as yield. You don't have to dump it. You can experience the bull market with that token as well. Now, that's not the case on some of the ones we're talking, the degen ones, usually you want to dump it right away, right? So, but there's on the higher quality products, Pulse X, some people are making a play on the Ink token. We're speculating on what happens next with the Ink token. So when we look at things like that, be like, okay, should you sell your Ink token? Well, that's not as clear, right? Should you sell your FUX token if you're working with the FUX exchange? Well, that's not as clear. There's more options there, right? So I think that's something to consider at this time when we know we're just at the tip of the bull market, or at least that's what I feel.
Exactly. And what you're talking about there too, specifically with like, when it comes to loan, I'm actually putting my pulse in and locking it up so that way I could get those stables out. That's a good move. But here's the thing that you want to be careful of. I had somebody not too long ago who was in the Pulse X and die pool on Pulse X. And I'm sitting there going, bro, I don't care if it's 100% APR or APY. Get it out. What are you doing? You switch, like, look at it this way. And I actually had a consult, and we I was talking to him about this, of like, you want things to go up together, right? Like Boo and Phantom, they tend to go together, right? I absolutely love Phantom ecosystem, but Pulse Chain is my favorite. And so then Pulse and Pulse X, you put it in there. Oh, it's only got like maybe 10%. That kind of sucks compared to the 100%. But they're going to go up together. The X's are way worth it, and you're just getting a little bit more off the top. You know,
the die is never going to go to $10, no matter what you do. It's like it might go to 99 cents, it might go to $1.01, but that's about it, right? So that impermanent loss is huge. It could be 90% impermanent loss, right? If Pulse 10x's, you have 90%. You know, my math isn't perfect, but approximately 90% impermanent loss of Pulse 10x's, and you're in that pool. So 100% takes out 10% of the impermanent loss. So you're only at 80% impermanent loss because you were yield farming. That's not a win, right?
Yeah, exactly. I think that's a very good point, because when people tend to look at liquidity providing or yield farming, they tend to do what you mentioned, Abdul, right? They chase the percentages, right? Percentage chasing,
APY chasing. Yep, APY chasing.
APY chasing. But what they don't look into is, like what Nate and you get the example of, like with Pulse and Pulse X, that APY might be a little bit lower, but both pairs benefit from the fact that they're both good projects, right? That they're liquidity bonded, right, by Hart's law. And then you also get the benefit of getting the incentive token as a reward for providing liquidity in that farm, right? And then who knows what might happen with Ink token, right? I think it's fairly obvious for anybody who's been in the ecosystem, for a considerable amount of time, that they have found that there is some part of the code within Ink token that might have some utility in it, right? People are speculating that RH might use it as a sacrifice for his wallet when and if that thing comes out. So
I haven't heard that one yet. Okay.
Right? These are the things that people need to consider when they're jumping into liquidity providing and then yield farming, in addition to things like impermanent loss, right? So, like, really good examples from both of you there, because those are really the things that people need to pay attention to, and not just the big 1,000%, 10,000% numbers on the screen.
For sure. And like, furthermore, like when you look at the tokens that you're getting, right? Like how, when you're liquidity providing in a farm scenario where you're getting like an extra token as yield, what you do with that token is extremely relevant. So, like, are you reinvesting it? Is it sitting somewhere? Could it be staked? Is there a way you can get extra yield off that token? And if not, like if it's something that's not going to go up, and you should be redeploying that into either, giving yourself a larger LP position, or, maybe even like some sort of other DGen lottery play that you're looking at. But like that yield that you're getting on a daily basis, to have it just sit there and collect without claiming it and deploying it into something, there's a mistake there too. Now, if you're not sure what to do, sometimes doing nothing is a great choice. But when you look at the math of liquidity providing and you consider impermanent loss, one of your big hedges against impermanent loss when there is a yield situation, like a farming situation like we're talking about, is what you do with the token that you're farming, what you do with that bonus token, with that yield token, and whether you push it back into another part of your bag, or it's going to appreciate too, but you put it in a place where it can appreciate the most. And that's almost never just sitting loose in your wallet. There's usually another option. So that's an important thing to understand.
Agreed. It's like the concept of the concept that everybody understands, at least in investing in the entrepreneur space, right? Of making your money work for you. Kind of the same thing. You just don't leave something like the incentive token sitting there because it's doing nothing. And like you mentioned, you're not able to hedge against the potential impermanent loss if the token that you're getting as yield, as a reward for providing liquidity for that pair, it's just sitting there doing nothing. So also a very good point.
Exactly. And you mentioned conventional business and, making your money work for you. And that's something, I've been in business for a long time. And, prior to that, I worked for other people's businesses. So, that concept was always present. Like how are your resources deployed? But like when the general populace wakes up to what's happening on in crypto and on the Pulse chain and what those yields are, like, first, they won't believe it. They'll say this can't be real because it's so different from the traditional financial system, even from the stock market. Like, yeah, you can go on the Pulse chain and get 70% yield on just stables right now. That's a thing. Like, it's a real thing. And yeah, you could do that. You could deploy, $100,000 and, pull out $70,000 a year with the current math. Like, yeah, no, that's real. You could do that right now. Like, that's insane. And then when you start looking at some of the opportunities that aren't stable coins, but still within those more stable ecosystems that we'll talk about, like the Fux exchange, where, it's not a crazy DGEM play where, it starts at 1,000% and it goes down to, minus 100% in a week. But 300% and more I've seen fairly consistently on the Fux exchange if you know how to look for it. Right. And you know how to get it, because there are some tricks to getting that. Like, it's not as easy as it might appear. It'll give you a range. It'll say, between 100 and 300%, or between 50 and 175%. So it's one of the things we'll talk about, is how to get the top range that they show on there. But like, when you look at traditional markets and you tell somebody like, oh yeah, I'm making 175% on Pulse chain, if you can prove that to them, they're going to come and join the Pulse chain, right? Because like,
oh yeah,
it, like,
nobody believes
could do it, they would be doing it. All right. Like, it's crazy.
Hey, on that note, fellas, so I was at my local Chase branch just this morning, and I saw an advertisement for a CD, certificate of deposit, right? They say create a CD with us for 6 months and you get 5%. I was like, fantastic. Wipe your ass with 5%. What are you gonna do with 5%? If the inflation doesn't eat into your yield, right? So I agree that when people from the traditional financial space come into crypto, they might get some whiplash, because for us, a 50%,
50% is peanuts, bro.
Yeah.
Oh no, Jay, we're
APR
losing you.
on a pair,
There you are.
is low, right? It's low for us.
Super low for us. Yeah.
Oh, am I
Unless
back?
it's a stable pair, something like that.
Yeah,
you're off and
Jay,
on.
you're cutting out, Jay. I think that that dust storm is getting to you, man. You got to get out of the tornado zone. Say, wave your hand or something. Okay, all right, sweet. Okay, we got you back.
Got him.
Excellent. Hey, so this is a real good opportunity, guys. I want to sort of turn the conversation to more towards
Will, I was
exploring
actually going to talk about Fux. You want to go there?
Yeah. So that's the next topic of conversation, is what is Fux. So I never used Fux personally, just because, like, I'm sure that whenever I use Pytheas and it routes through Fux, it does that. But Mr. Fast Abdoul or Nate, can you guys describe for the folks at home who'd never used Fux, what is the PH Universal Exchange?
Well, you're the special guest. You want to go?
Yeah.
Yeah, let's go through it. So the Fux exchange is one of the exchanges on the Pulse chain. It is by total value locked, the second biggest one. Let me just pull it up here to double check the numbers. But yeah, it's got a lot of value locked in it, only second to Pulse X. And if you took every other exchange underneath the Fux exchange, their total value locked in them would be less than Fux has by itself. So it could surpass Pulse X at the rate that it's growing. And considering all the things that it does that Pulse X does not do, there's a very good chance that could happen. It has $33 million locked in it right now. And just today, and this has been much higher, this is actually a slow day, just today, it has almost $600,000 volume that went through it. And some days it's much, much more. I've seen $10 million and more move through in a day. It comes in top 10 crypto exchanges. You'll see that on Gecko Terminal, even compared to big ones on Ethereum, etc. So it's a very impressive fork of something called Balancer. It's actually Balancer V2, the most advanced version of Balancer from Ethereum. They forked that on the Pulse chain. It's called Fux. And Balancer is a different way to do liquidity. I'd say it's more advanced than any system, in my opinion. Better than V2, like Pancake Swap, those sort of things where you have a 50-50 pair, better than V3 where you have just a certain range where you're providing liquidity. It provides additional options that most people are probably not aware of, and that give a lot of power to communities in particular to provide liquidity for their tokens in a very sustainable and effective manner.
Yeah, and see, one of the big things that it does for me is, talking about impermanent loss, right? If I'm going to go ahead and put a meme coin with my pulse connected to it, right? I don't really want it to be 50-50 because I think that there's a chance that this meme coin could go up, but it could also just drop through the floor.
There we go.
Right. And now I'm losing out on my pulse, and I don't want that. So the thing that I really like about Fux is that there's a lot, like for one example, like time, right? I've had time. Can't remember what the exact pool was called, but I've had that
time pool, I believe.
Yeah. Great time. I've had that locked up for quite a while now, and I bought it directly at the bottom, right? And I've been just letting it go, and it's been paying off quite a bit, right? So, but the thing that I like about it is that you're able to put in like 80% time and then 20% pulse. I want to keep as much pulse, to myself as I possibly can. And I don't know if time is going to go up or down. As it turns out, it went up, right? Mm-hmm. Okay, good play. That is technically what I want, right?
Yep.
But
the time pays you.
Time pays. That's exactly it, Maddie. Shout out Maddie Allen.
Shout out to Maddie Allen for creating a cool product. Nothing to do with the time token. I just thought that.
Abdul, quick question for you. So you mentioned about
real quick, Jay. I'm gonna finish this up real quick. So for me, that 80-20% is a safety thing for me, right? That right there, it makes me feel better about locking things up for a long time and just letting it fly,
Yeah, that's one side of it, but there's another side too that like you're surely benefiting from, and so are other community members. Is like if you're involved in time, that means and you have the time token, and I think that's a good solid token. I like that token, but in a V2 pool, if you want to provide liquidity, you'd have to provide an equal volume, not quantity per token, but like value of pulse if it was a 50-50 pool, because that's the only option on V2. With an 80-20 pool, like that great time pool is, you can use 80% time, meaning you don't have to sell some of your time to get pulse to pair up on the other side. You can have much less pulse on hand. So for communities to provide liquidity providing for themselves or community members to participate, then they can make a bigger number, and then yield is often based on that number in such a way without having to invest a whole bunch of a second or third token, depending on the scenario. And that brings me to the other point of what Balancer and Fux offer is normal. I say normal, but like what most people understand is that a liquidity pair is 2 tokens. On Balancer and Fux, it can be up to 8 tokens. Right. So you can have a liquidity pair that has up to 8 things. Now, 8's not a practical number. And I'm pretty sure I'm right on the 8, though I've never actually made an 8 token pool because it's generally not effective. But there's lots of good pools with 3 different tokens or 4 tokens that work very nicely. Like there's pools that have like the Icosa, Hedron, Hex, maybe even Hex from Ethereum, like the bridged over Hex from Ethereum paired together all in one pool, right? And those can be very interesting pools because those tokens are all related to each other and they'll move up and down together to a large extent. You can minimize that impermanent loss we've talked about. So, you can have 4 tokens that have something in common with each other and get that volume. That can be very interesting. Well, before we go forward, guys, I just want to take one quick step back to do a disclaimer.
Yes.
So my protocol that Yellow Cake, my co-founder, and I are working on is called 2 Fux, right? Now, and our slogan is we give more Fux, all right? Fux being spelled PHUX. The Fux exchange, right, as well as the rest of the PH ecosystem, so you have Famous and Fiat, as well as their Fatty wallet. Like these are really good products. That is a different team from ours. We're building on top of that ecosystem. We have a relationship with those teams. We've discussed what we're doing. They're well aware, of what we're doing, and they're assisting us to make sure that our users are safe in how these protocols interact together. But it's a separate team. We don't owe them anything, and they don't owe us anything. I just want to make that very clear. So I consider myself an expert on the Fux exchange in general. I'm happy to answer questions, but I can't speak for that team.
Yes, that was. I'm glad that you mentioned that. That was something I was going to lead into. But while we are on the subject of disclaimers, just so the audience knows, the DGen Roundtable is getting nothing from this interview. We are Fast Abdul is not paying us with extra camels for
No
our interview
bribes.
here. This is all pro bono. This is all like just so that information is out and available to the public. So just so everyone is aware, there are no deals here. Nobody is getting anything. He is not a representative of Fux. He is a representative of his own things. We're a representative of the DGen Roundtable, and everything is all just like this is information for everybody. So
Speculative ideas. Yeah, just
yes,
talking.
Yeah, we're
yes,
having a damn good conversation. That's what we're getting out of this.
yeah,
It's
I like
awesome.
it. Yeah, I'm fucking learning. I didn't know that you could create pools that are 80-20 like right off the get go. So I might
Yeah,
have
it's
to.
not only that too, but what you can also
I
do
have
is
to
when
get
you
that.
actually go and put that money in, you can do 80%, right? And then it's like proportional. This is what we suggest, right? Which would be that 20. You could go more if you wanted to. You can put in those pools. You can actually do that custom. Now, I don't recommend that. I always go proportional, right? Because there's a purpose for it. But what this allows me to do is allows me to literally go to my meme coin, push the button max, and then do proportional. Okay, how much now for the rest of them? And so it's really cool the way that they do it. I love it.
It also has a great option of like, let's say you just have your meme coin and you don't have the other coin that it's paired with. You can just put your meme coin in and it will balance it for you. So you don't need to have both tokens or all 4 tokens or whatever the scenario is to provide liquidity. You can just provide the one token and it effectively trades for you to fill up the other portions. So there could be some slippage there. That's not always the best choice, but it does have that functionality and that just makes it really easy. So it's actually really user friendly once you get your mind around it. And sure, you can be a really advanced user. Like we can get really deep into that, but like if you just want to provide liquidity, you only have to have one token, even if it's a 5 token pool. So it does have some options that can get people into it, right? So move slowly, do your reading, but yeah, it is user friendly in my opinion.
Excellent. We do have I want to do a quick shout out to the members of the community. We got Danny Boy in the chats. He had just asked a question, so you can entry an LP with just one of the 3 or 4 tokens, and that is correct.
That's
Fast Abdul just covered that. We also got Ty Fan here in the chat. We got Willie B Long. We got snap. Who else do
We
we have?
got
We have
Seymour
Hexagon.
Waters. He's got
So
some
who's that?
camels going on there.
Oh, Seymour Waters.
Yeah, I like that. Dancing with the camels.
That's awesome. We got
Thanks,
Mr. Well Off. We got Will Stevenson. Oh, that's me. We got Cassie Kelly. We got the DGen Roundtable, of course. We've got Hexagon Lost in Asia. We got lots of folks in the chat. Hey, we want to thank you guys so much for watching us right now, but not to detract too much, but so that I think that was a pretty good overview on Fux, and Nate, I believe, has posted the link to where people can go and check out Fux, fux.io/#pulse. And that's how you guys can go and check out the Fux exchange. Allegedly, I've never used it, so I got no clue. Have fun with it, everyone. So
It's got a great UI. It's it's a lot of fun. It looks really good. That's an important thing to me. It's a weird thing, I know, but if I go to a website, right, an app, and I started trying to use it, and it Reaper Farms. I mean, come on. It looks a little bit funky, and you're like, I don't know about this. And then there's like a complicated way of you got to like click on things. Yeah, it gets a little bit sketchy sometimes. But when you have something like Fux or Spark Swap or something like that, where it's real easy to use, it looks good. Like, absolutely love it. It's important for me.
Bro, you want to talk about fun and sketchy dexes. I don't know if I'm definitely going against the risk diode mentality here, but a long time ago there was an exchange called Chirp Finance, and I definitely do not recommend going and visiting Chirp Finance now.
Chirp Finance died, bro.
It died so hard, but man, I remember we were live streaming when that stuff was like it was literally the 1500% APRs that Fast Abdul was talking about earlier. And like the reason it's unsustainable is because it implodes, right? So like I think I made like a total of like $20 off of the whole endeavor. But it was so much fun, man. Just like, whoa, I'm pairing Chirp up with Pulse and I'm getting like 1500% APY, and it was nuts.
Yeah.
Like it's like dipping your toes into like a pit of sulfuric acid, but it feels really good when you first like get in there. But if you leave your feet in there too long, it's gonna like melt all your flesh away or something.
Oh God.
That's how I saw it. But sorry, Chirp Finance, if you guys are still out there trying to make money, like you're gonna have to make
No,
better
no,
money.
so yeah, a little history on Chirp Finance. Me,
Yeah.
Tracker, and Will, were you with us on that one?
Yeah, I was
You were, okay.
I was there when we were doing it live,
Yeah,
man.
we were doing it
I was
live, and we were
buying it
just simply
live.
going through LPing, right? That we were just
Yeah.
teaching people about LPing and looking for
Mhm.
farms and stuff. And we went through DeFi Llama, and we were like, hey, let's check out a bunch of these. And we found this Chirp Finance, and
That was a
both
degen play, man.
yeah, both of us were like, wait a minute, there's something here. I bet we could use this. And we went through the whole process, set it up,
Yep.
and we actually made quite a bit of money off it.
Yeah.
Got the heck out when the liquidity dropped by like $10,000 because there was only like 15 in there in total. And so as soon as it dropped 10,000, we were like, oh shit. And we got out real quick and we made a lot of money, and now it's dead.
Yep.
That low liquidity number, like if you see a pool that only has like $800 in it, and you know, and you're thinking of putting $800 in it, you may be the exit liquidity.
Yes.
It's quite possible. Somebody's waiting for you to put your $800 in.
That is
So,
absolutely
gosh.
true.
So I've got another question for Abdul in regarding to the liquidity providing, right? So you mentioned that with Fux that you can normally you'd provide liquidity using 2 tokens, right? Just a pair of 2 tokens. But in the Fux protocol, you can provide liquidity for up to 8 pairs.
I believe so. Yeah.
Right. So my question is, what is the benefit for providing liquidity with just more than 2 tokens? And I think one of the questions is, especially for folks like me who are just kind of they're beginners and just learning the ropes with liquidity providing, right? Is there a lot more maintenance when you're providing liquidity for like 3 pairs versus just 2? Because I think folks just have a difficult understanding the concept just behind liquidity providing with 2 tokens, let alone 3 all the way up to 8.
And certainly there could be more maintenance, but like generally speaking, it's not going to be harder. Do you mind if I share a screen, guys? I think I could give us a good illustration of that. Here,
absolutely, go right ahead.
Cue it up, and we'll just take a look at one of these pairs that has multiple tokens, and we'll go from there. Okay, so excellent. Where's the Fux exchange? Okay, I'm ready. If you guys want to turn it on.
Yes.
Okay, there we are.
All
okay,
right.
so this is just the table that shows the pools, right? And there's some tricks here that we'll go over, but generally speaking, it's like, okay, these are the bigger pools. It shows them sort of by volume, like the total pool value right now. So we're just going to scroll down. We'll find something interesting, like, okay, Alex, Hedron, Maxi. This is the one I wanted to look at because it has some interesting examples, and you can see why these tokens would be paired together. So let's go over what we have in this pool, and it shows the percentages beside it, right? So, and the percentage is relevant, and the percentage is fixed. So we have Hedron, P Hedron, so Hedron from the Pulse chain, 42%, 40% Hex from the Pulse chain, 10% bridged over Hedron from Ethereum, 7% Icosa from the Pulse chain, and 1% Icosa from Ethereum. That's the makeup of that pool. So the what do I need to go into that pool? Any one of these tokens, generally speaking. Now, if I only had Icosa from Ethereum, that would probably be less than stellar. I'd likely experience a lot of impermanent loss. If I had 3 of these tokens in approximately the right proportions, I'd probably experience very little impermanent loss in, not impermanent loss, slippage rather, in getting into the pool. But like once you're in this pool, it flows by itself. You don't have to add or remove liquidity depending on what's happened. It's always going to rebalance between these, and you're always going to have these percentages of those tokens, generally speaking. You know, it has some ups and downs, but like it's all taken care of by the protocol for you. And you can see here, like the weight of the tokens in the pool, the balance of tokens in the pool. And then if I had a connected wallet here and I was in this pool, it would show me the quantity that I had in the pool as well, like what my balance was in this pool. And then when I looked at, other pages, they sorted it all out for you. Like here's a portfolio page where I would see that pool. And when I go to claim the yield, they just have one very simple yield page where right here, I would see that pool. I'd be able to press claim and I'd claim the yield, which in this case is in Fux tokens, right? So it's not that hard. Like it'd be like to make that pool. Like if I wanted to be like the person who made this pool, that's harder, and that requires another lesson. I'm happy to help people with that who are interested in getting into the higher end of liquidity providing, because making the decision on these percentages, there's some math and some game theory that goes behind that. That the average user doesn't need to know just to participate, but just to participate, to add your own liquidity and do the yield farming, right? Which we can see right here is paying between basically 17 and 36% on this pool, which by and large is paying more than staking any one of these tokens is paying in the timeline, of a year, right? So we know Hex, they say the 38% APR, and there's a lot of game theory and maths behind that. So we can't say it's necessarily better or worse, but like this is money you claim on a daily basis and that you can compound. It's interesting, right? So, and this is not one of the higher examples of a pool as far as APR goes. This is, sort of a middle example, but there's a lot of money in here. There's almost like $1.7 million. Like serious people on the Pulse chain are participating in these pools instead of staking those tokens. So there's more than just staking on the Pulse chain. There's ways you can get paid every single day and be in a relatively safe scenario like this, where you have these tokens who are innately related to each other. So there's going to be ups and downs, but generally speaking, if Hex goes up on both chains, then so does like Hedron, so does Icosa. These things are all tied together. And if Hex goes up on the Pulse chain, probably it goes up on Ethereum too, to some degree, or they catch up with each other. So, there's huge game theory. And then look at this one down here. This is a great one too. Maxi perpetual pools. We know all these things basically equal Hex, right? So we have this lineup of Hex with Maxi, with Deci, with Lucky, with Base, with Trio, and just a little background. Those are all tokens that basically represent long-term Hex stakes over 15 years, 10 years, 7 years, 1 year, and 3 year. Like this whole pool is just Hex paid with each other. Your impermanent loss should be fairly minimal, and you're making up to 48% yield on things that should in some cases appreciate more than regular Hex, because they're basically state Hex that's been tokenized, like almost like Rocket Pool or something. It's like a liquid staking token. This is a tremendous value, even though it's not the best APR available on Fux right now.
And could I actually add to that as well? So when you're looking at this, right, you got that bridge stables pool right there. So here's what's fascinating about that. Your pool value, the liquidity in the actual pool itself, or sorry, the amount locked up, total value locked, is up to getting like approaching 3 million at this point, right?
Yeah.
So let's pretend that you had like $500,000 in just stables. And by the way, these are 3 different stables. So that means that it's, if one of them goes down for whatever reason, whatever black swan happens, right, you've still got those other 2 just fine. So you've diversified your portfolio at that point. You put it into this pool, and then what is the APY on this pool again? It was like between 12 and 23, 23.
Right? Let's find something more interesting for stables. We got some better ones than that.
Yeah, and there's probably even more than that. And see, here's the crazy thing. I want you to go to any stock trader and be like, hey, guess what? I can, on the low end, get 20% for my dollars.
Yep.
They would blow their brains. They'd be like, where am I going to go to put my money?
Yeah,
it's called Fux. Go put it in Fux.
Man, I love Coast so much. This is fantastic.
That's a great
one.
Look
at this.
Yeah.
This is Coast. There's almost like $2.2 million in here. And the APR is between 18% and 43%. And the only 2 tokens in this pool are the Coast stablecoin and then bridged over USDC. So these 2 things that are worth $1 that will pay you up to 43% right now.
That's
and
beautiful.
This has actually dipped quite a bit. I've seen this pool over 75% in the past. So, and which is one thing that we'll talk about, that these things do go up and down, but like 18 to 43%, knock on the door at your bank and see if they'll give you anything. Like if they will give you half of that to just hold your money for you, they won't. So this is better than inflation, like if you do that through a bear market, like that would be sweet.
So now what I think this is a good opportunity for us to transition into the 2 Fux, because I see there are 2 numbers on that little APR side over there. There is a 1% for that very top one, Prime Fux. There is a 1% all the way to 54%. Fast Abdul, can you explain to me why the yield generated would be between 1% to 55%. And then what is your protocol going to do to best enable users to get the maximum capabilities using the protocol?
You bet. Here, I'm going to find us an interesting pool to look at. Here, let's try this loan one.
Ooh, hell yeah.
So this pool, and here's a trick, guys. This pool is not on the front page yet. You have to know how to look for it, right? So there's pools with really high APR that don't pop up on the front page because they don't have a big pool value. So, there's ways to find them, but, it's good to know. And that's part of the reason that this APR is so high. So let's look at this APR. So, and first the makeup so that we understand. So this pool has some stable coins in it, right? So, which gives us a potential and permanent loss. So, that's something that we should consider. But like it has pretty good APR. So that, that weighs against that. 60% loan token and 10% pulse. Now I can tell you from my familiarity with liquid loans that between 87 and 176% APR is paying better than staking your loan token on most days. So this is one of the occasions where you get paid better to liquidity provide than you will to stake the token. So that's a consideration. I'm not saying you should only do this or you should only do that, but like if you're diversifying, like why would you not do at least a little bit of this? And I'm in that position. I'm using the loan protocol. I've staked my loan token, but I'm also in this pool because 176% APR. Yeah, of course I'm going to do that. The math is really, really good. And it diversifies me, right? Like I'm holding some stable coins and I'm holding some pulse in that pair. So let's look at this APR. So right here between 87 and 176%, if we put our mouse over this little magic symbol here, it'll give us the breakdown of what those numbers are. So at the top, we can see, and this is actually really high. This is one of the things that's impressive about the Fux exchange. It's like they're actually pushing through major dollars. Like it has 27.87%, like it's almost 28% swap fee APR, right? And that gets paid out as Fux tokens. That gets converted automatically. You don't have to worry about it. But like that's just the fees for the swaps that are going through this. But even on this pair with really high APR like that, most of the APR is coming from the bonus APR, which is coming in the Fux token. And that's because this is a gauged pool. Now that's the term gauged as the term they use for shotguns, for balancer, and for Fux to indicate, in the case of Balancer Fux, that it is a pool that's been incentivized. And in this case, it's incentivized with the Fux token. Now, only the Fux team, like the PH ecosystem team, they decide which pools get incentivized. And it's usually pools of quality with decent volume, like it's not a $10 pool and, usually not something that's really sketchy. But that's completely up to them. And we're building on top of this, but we have no control of which pools get gauges. But we can help with some other things. And this is the part that we're really interested in. If we look underneath here, where it says first the 27% APR for the swap fees, and then the minimum staking APR is the 59%, right? Almost 60%. So that 60% includes the minimum bonus Fux from it being a gauge pool, an incentivized pool, plus the swap fee APR. But the maximum Fux APR of, we'll just round it to 150%. It's almost there. That 150%, you only get that if you have a boost. And the boost is between 0 and 2.5x. That's the difference between the boosts. And to get the boost, you have to have basically staked what they call prime Fux, but it's just a liquidity pair of 20% pulse and 80% Fux. You have to have that staked in this ecosystem via the Fux front end for up to a year. Right? And it's locked. You can't take it out during that time. You get it back after, but you need to have it in there. And really, if you're going to do it, you have to do it for the year to get the best possible boost. And if you have a lot of money in this and you're moving it around, you'd have to have a lot of Fux to get that big boost. It couldn't just be $100, right? Like, and there's a very complicated math equation depending on the size of the pool and how much Fux you have and how long it's staked for to determine what your boost is. But generally speaking, more is better. So if you lock up your Fux, which is what you get in yield, you'll get a boost. The more you have, the closer you can get to the 2.5x, which is what in this case brings you to 176%, which like is awesome, right? Like if you could get there, it's good, but it's going to cost you to get there. Now our
sounds
protocol,
like a whale game thing.
It's a whale game.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the whales will get paid more, right? So which is part of the game in every ecosystem. But that's one of the things that our protocol sets out to solve is how can you get the maximum possible boost without having, $100,000 or sometimes more of staked prime fucks that you can't unlock, that's locked for a year, and that you have to keep relocking in order to get that big boost. We take care of that for you at 2 fucks, which is why we give more fucks.
I like it.
That's awesome. So basically what you're saying, so 2 fucks is a booster, right? It's a booster that allows the little guy to actually get a piece of what only whales can generally get.
That's one component. And if we look at the concept of the prime fucks, right? And I'll just pull up the page here. Okay, so we have the VE fucks, which also been I'll refer to as prime fucks page. Now you can get the prime fucks, you can buy that token, or you can make it yourself by making a liquidity pair with adding pulse and fucks at an 80-20 ratio. But you have to get this token and then you have to stake it. And you see here right here it says lock, and it gives you options to lock for so long, for up to a year, and so on and so forth. And you have to lock it for the max term to get the max amount of boost and the max amount of voting power, which is something that we'll go over later. But this is something that most people will never quite have enough to get the maximum boost. And we can't guarantee in our ecosystem either that people will get the maximum boost, but the way that we're set up, our protocol will have a massive pool. We're talking, anywhere, between $300,000 and $500,000 or more, could even be $1 million or more of prime fucks permanently locked in our ecosystem. Once it comes in, it gets locked and staked for a year and restaked on a daily basis and never can be sold as fucks again. We can never liquidate that. It's always just part of the protocol. So obviously if you're in the fucks exchange ecosystem, you want a machine to be built that permanently keeps buying fucks and locking it forever. That's not a bad thing. And I think that puts us on friendly terms with the fucks users and the fucks team, whether they use our protocol or not. But the result of us having a pool of, let's say, 1 million fucks is that you'll be able to come to our protocol to 2fucks.io. And instead of having your pool of, let's say, $10,000 in fucks, if you really invested in it, you can just come use my pool of $1 million of fucks, and you'll get a boost based on the pool that you're using, which is my $1 million worth of fucks. So, there's a huge advantage and a much better chance of people to get up to this 2.5x that they're advertising, right? So the chances of that benefiting someone are very, very high. There's going to be certain situations for certain whales, or maybe it won't, but almost every regular user and the vast majority of whales of any description, they're going to really benefit from just being able to use our pool. So that's just one side of our protocol, but I think it's a side that will benefit almost every single person who has a strategy that involves liquidity providing on the Fucks exchange.
Now, I have a question for you. You said that your guys' protocol, did I hear you correctly saying that it would buy more fucks off of or more prime fucks or something like that?
Yeah.
Okay.
So
where's the money flow? Can you describe where does the money come from that buys the stuff off? Because it traps it in your guys' little contract forever. Can't be sold. Can never sell this stuff. It's gone forever and whatnot. Where's the money flow that makes your guys' thing pick up the stuff off the marketplace and put it in your little special baggie?
That's a good question. Let's take a look at a flow chart that I have for you guys. I'm going to share that.
Okie dokie. You doing the screen share?
And we're up.
Okie dokie.
There we go.
Ooh,
okay, so on my flow chart here, we can see the whole, progress of the ecosystem. And it can be potentially way more complicated than this, but this gives most people an idea of what's going to happen when they participate with our protocol. So we start at the top, and we're starting at the Fucks exchange, right? So you're depositing an LP token from Fucks into 2Fucks. And an LP token is just like when you make an LP position, they give you a receipt token that's literally a token, and that means it can be moved from wallet to wallet, and that's how the protocol can tell this is your LP, this is your liquidity position, and if you transfer it to 2Fucks, then we end up putting it back into Fucks for you through our front end, and thus you'll be able to benefit from our pool. So you're going to take an LP token for something like that great time pool, or the loan pool we looked at, or one of the stable pools we looked at. You'll put it into our ecosystem, and we're going to help you get closer to that 2.5x boost. Now, once again, we don't guarantee a specific boost, but we have the opportunity to let you use our large pool of prime Fox. So the math is likely in your favor. Now, when you claim your yield on that token, it's going to come in Fox tokens, like as we know, and then you're also going to get 2 Fox tokens. Okay. Now, our protocol takes basically a 25% cut of the Fox that you're going to get, right? That's sort of like the fee for using the protocol. But in return, we give you the 2 Fox token, right? Which is of definitive value. And we'll look at some examples on Ethereum where it's, this equation of it taking 25%. On Ethereum, typically it's giving you back more than 25% in both the bonus yield and the value of the additional token. So, this is definitely a win-win situation for both the protocols and the users in this case. So when you get those tokens, you're going to have some options as well. So you'll be able to lock your 2 Fox, and that's going to give you additional yield. And this addresses the part that you were asking about, Will, is like, how does the protocol keep buying more, right? So you lock your 2 Fox tokens. So that's our native token, is the 2 Fox token. And then you get in yield another token that's part of our ecosystem called the Prime 2 Fox token. Now, remember, we looked at on the Fox exchange, they call their paired VE Fox or 80-20 Pulse Fox pair. They call that Prime Fox. Well, we call ours Prime 2 Fox.
Yep.
And what Prime 2 Fox is, it's just a Prime Fox LP token, or like 80-20 Fox and Pulse, that is wrapped and turned into and staked for a year, always a year, maximum term, in the 2 Fox contract that can never come out. And so we give you a receipt token for that, which is the Prime 2 Fox token, that you can sell, that you can stake, and we'll get to that in a second. But it's not locked for a year for you. You can sell this at any time. And you have options with this token, whereas on Fox, you would have to be locked for a year to get that same value. And because the cost is 1-to-1, like one Prime 2 Fox always, and this gets minted forever by the users, and you can come to our front end, you can mint that, or you'll get it for yield. But because the cost is always 1-to-1, they'll tend to balance towards being a similar price to each other. We don't guarantee that, but we can see that on Ethereum with similar protocols, or the protocol that we're forking, basically. So there's a good value in getting this token. And because you're getting that as yield as part of the protocol, that means the protocol is minting this token and giving it to you to sell or to hold or to stake. And it's automatically buying Fox and locking it in the protocol. So every time someone collects yield for staking their 2 Fox token in the box that we're looking at here, the protocol becomes more powerful forever and will keep growing and growing and growing.
Gotcha. That is very interesting. So it locks up. So you've got all the locked up. I'm
Prime
losing.
Fox.
Yes, you got all the locked up Prime Fox, and then there's the liquid version that allows people to trade it around, and it's representative of the real thing. Very similar to the Maxi, the Deci, the Base, all that stuff, how it interacts with staked Hex and things like that.
Yeah, so
and you had also mentioned earlier, I was going to say, you mentioned earlier that like every single day it re-ups the maximum length stake. So So these things are trapped forever, never going to be sold, no negative sell pressure on the ecosystem. That's fantastic. I quite like this.
Yep. Yeah. From the point of view of like the Fox exchange, even if you weren't participating with 2 Fox, like things are going to get better. It's not a bad thing. And like when we start talking about the percentages, right, that end up being in the 2 Fox protocol at the end of 2 or 3 years is going to be really substantial. And when we look at the voting power, I think that's, something that we'll have to consider. So if we just follow this flow chart and see where it goes, we'll see that, there's more to it than that. So when you stake your 2 Fox token, which we got as yield, right? As part of, we got Fox and we got 2 Fox tokens. And of course, you're free to turn your Fox tokens into Prime 2 Fox tokens or sell them. You have different choices of what to do with these quality yield tokens, right? Like they're not just dump tokens by any means.
Yeah.
But, and right here, I have that option. We can convert the Fox into Prime 2 Fox. And here you're getting some Prime 2 Fox as yield as well. you can stake that in our ecosystem, and that becomes that receipt token gives you access to the yield, right? So basically 4% of the yield goes to this token. Of the 25% that the protocol takes, 4% goes to the 2FUC stakers, and they get some other benefits as well we'll go over, and 20% goes to the prime 2FUC stakers. So that's actually going to be the main yield token of the ecosystem, right? So you don't even have to participate in liquidity pools. You're making money off these two things by themselves. So, but there's definitely some, some game theory in that. And then when you're staking your prime 2FUC tokens, you're getting more 2FUC tokens. And then again, it generates more prime 2FUC tokens, which again means it's buying FUCs and it's locking it in our contract again. So every participation in the protocol from a user builds the protocol. It becomes more powerful after every single use, and it never stops. So
snowball effect,
huge potential. And then the next thing is like we get down to the bottom of the protocol here, and like we can see that this all leads to the voting concept, which is where we eventually get to the bribe concept, but we'll have to go over the votes first for us to understand the value and necessity of bribes in this ecosystem.
Okay. Well, before we hop into the votes, I got one question from the audience, then I'll open it up to Nate and Jay if they have anything. But first, Mrs. Producer, can you go ahead and highlight Danny Boy? He's got a question. Is 2FUCs going to have any single-sided staking for any of the RH tokens?
No, it's not that type of ecosystem. So like we'll have effectively single-sided staking for 2FUCs or prime 2FUCs tokens, but we don't have a separate staking pool. Now, if you want to participate with RH tokens, the way to do it is some of the pools we looked at on FUCs, like particularly that maxi pool, that's almost single-sided RH. Like it's almost like single-sided hex staking. So you have 5 different things that are all just hex in one shape or another. It almost fills that gap, even though it's a little bit more complicated. But if you can get your mind around it, there's fantastic options there and some very interesting wins for people who want to participate.
Okay, excellent. Well, thank you very much. Jay or Nate, do you guys have anything before we move on to the voting stuff?
Yeah, so there was quite a lot of information there. So let me just go a quick rundown to understand see if I understand the value proposition of the 2FUCs protocol, right? So from the way that I understand it from your explanation there, Abdul, is that usually being able to get the maximum boost from those specific liquidity pools, right, on the original FUCs ecosystem, usually that's reserved for the whales, right? The people who are providing large amounts of liquidity, therefore they're getting a large amount of FUCs token as rewards from providing liquidity in that pool, which they can then stake in that prime FUCs pool of FUCs token and Pulse token, and then that's the prime FUCs token that they get that allows them to get that boosted yield in those specific pools. Do I have that correct so far?
You bet. And like when we think of the prime FUCs token, like we don't have to overcomplicate it. Like it is an LP token, but like bottom line is FUCs. You get FUCs and you stake FUCs through the protocol, and that's going to give you the boosted yield. Now you can get FUCs by LP providing. Obviously, like whales are going to have an advantage on the big numbers. You can also buy FUCs off the market. Like it's a token with utility that has very substantial liquidity on the FUCs exchange, and it's also on other it's also on PulseX, etc. So you can buy it to start that off, and that's fine. But yeah, there's generally a whale advantage. That calculation on how to get to the 2.5x, it's actually super complicated, complicated enough that I can't explain it verbally. But it involves like the size of the pool, how much FUCs you have, and how much LP you're putting into the pool would be like some of the main components, right? And it's possible sometimes with a smaller amount of FUCs to get the 2.5x boost. Like if you only put $10 in the pool, like maybe for your $10 you'll get that boost. But when you start, you get to $100, like your boost got cut in half or more. Like it's for you to have a meaningful amount of money to us in the pool, like it's to have $10,000 or more, even $1,000 or more in most of these pools, it's going to be out of reach for a lot of people. So we're providing a service and allowing you to use our prime FUCs in that case.
Gotcha.
It's going to cover almost everybody, in my opinion. And it might always, we might, depending on the pool, a really big pool, a lot of people, like maybe it doesn't hit the 2.5x, and it actually says right on the protocol, say this pool is a 1.9x. It gives you the APR before you go into the pool. So you'll have an educated guess. And you could compare on Fox what it is, what you're getting by yourself. Almost every case, it won't be as good. So I think that the writing will be on the wall there, but all the information is given beforehand. And there's no, we talked about locking, like for the Fox token, when you're locking to get that boost, that's the only thing that locks, as far as the LP tokens go. Like your LP positions aren't locked for any amount of time. You can remove them at any time. Right. So it's like, 2 clicks, 1 click to unstake it and 1 click to remove your LP. Your money is yours. There's no long-term lock option. You can't, even if you wanted to, you can't lock your liquidity position for a year, except for the prime Fox position on the Fox exchange. And again, on 2Fox, when we convert into prime 2Fox, we give you a receipt token. You don't lock that. You can stake it for yield, but you can remove it and sell it at any time.
Gotcha. So in a nutshell, the way that I see is one of the biggest value proposition is when you go and try to create that prime Fox token, right? Instead of like if you're a smaller fish within that very large pool, instead of living with that minimum boost, what they can do with that prime Fox LP token is take it to your protocol to 2Fox and then participate in that pool, which would potentially guarantee you the maximum boost up to that 2.5% boost in those specific pools, correct?
Well, we're not guaranteeing anything, but we're certainly gonna
potentially
push it as much as we can. Like Yellow Cake and I made this protocol for ourselves. We're gonna be some of the main users, I hope. So like that's our goal, is to be able to get these boosts on our very diverse liquidity positions and interests in with multiple communities on the Pulse chain. So we're really hoping that we can provide it to the community as well. And the boost that we get as the guys who made the thing will be the same boost exactly as you guys get, regardless of what you come in with. And owning our ecosystem token, like the 2Fox token, you don't need to have that to use the protocol to get the boost, right? You'll get that as part of your yield potentially, but that's not what the boost comes from. The boost comes from the permanently locked prime Fox pool that keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger. So that's actually, we've only covered half of the value that 2Fox will provide to both the users and the ecosystem, but that portion will be available for everyone.
Wonderful. Okay, I think so. Wonderful. So I think from somebody who's very new to this ecosystem, like you've certainly provided more than enough information for me to understand the fundamentals. Let's go ahead it certainly is, but it's a lot of fun, right? So let's go ahead and transition into you always post in the chats like let's talk Bribes. I want to get into that.
The best part.
Let's talk Bribes, boys. So before we talk Bribes, we're going to talk votes. And for as far as this ecosystem goes, like there's 2 components. Like so we have the boost, and we want everybody to be on the boost. But the other big part of how Balancer works on Ethereum and how Fox works on Pulse Chain is that it's actually kind of a DAO, right? Like you're voting on things. And Fox in particular, they've done a really good job streamlining, what we can call, for discussion's sake, the DAO process, in that you only vote on one thing. And it's the only thing that anybody is interested in, which makes it an extremely active DAO, probably the most active DAO ever. You're only voting on money, which pool gets yield, right? So that same prime Fox token we talked about, so the Fox that you have staked, for up to a year on the Fox exchange, that gives you the boost, but it also gives you the voting power. And the more you have, the more voting power that you have. And the percentage that gets voted towards any particular pool, and the pools that can be voted against are only those gauged ones, which once again, only the Fox team gets to decide which pools get a gauge, but any gauge pool, any user can vote for. And the amount of yield those pools get, like not the swap fee APR, but the bonus yield, which we've seen is the vast majority, right? Like, up to 90% or more of the yield, that is determined by the number of votes and the percentage of votes that go towards that pool. So there's some other factors too, like the size of the pool. Like a smaller pool with many votes will get a higher APR than a larger pool with the same percentage of votes. But bottom line is you're voting on where do you want the money to go. So clearly people are incentivized to vote for their own community. People like founders and whales, like who are like serious liquidity providers, but particularly like, you know, community founders or like community members who are really trying to support their community by providing liquidity. Those guys are highly incentivized to vote for the pools that they represent to boost those pools. Because when you like with the boost now on, if you were putting LP through just the Fux front end, your boost is only for you. Right now with 2Fux, the boost is for everybody that uses our front end. But with the votes, whether you're voting, like when you're voting on Fux or through 2Fux, as we'll discuss, that vote benefits every single user of that pool. So like if a founder comes in and they participate in 2Fux and they end up directing a lot of voting power and they direct it towards their pool on Fux, every single community member will benefit. Right. So it's a real like hold hands and let's make money thing, guys. Right. Like it's a pretty happy democracy as far as that goes, because everybody likes money and you get to make money together. And the more votes towards one specific pool, the more money that pool is going to give out in the Fux token in this case, which, you know, as we've illustrated, is not a dump token. It has utility. It has immediate and financial utility. So it's very interesting. So the Fux tokens will give you the votes and they will also give you the yield boost. And, you know, the votes long-term actually are the more interesting thing, both in terms of control of the ecosystem, but also financially, because knowing which pool is going to get the most yield is might give you an edge on which pools will actually have a token that appreciates in value. If your community can put forward a token that you know, like is in one of these pools and is providing substantial yield, that gives people not only reason to provide liquidity. You know, liquidity is good for protocols. Protocols generally need more liquidity than they have, but it also gives them an opportunity to make yield without selling the token that they brought to the dance, right? Like, you know, you can go into a pool, you can provide liquidity and you can make yield and not sell that, you know, not sell that token. So, you know, there's definitely a price go up factor in that, right? Like we know that not selling is not the only thing. You need buyers of a token, but like buying a token that has 200% yield, like APR, like that's a reason to buy a token for me. I know I've bought tokens for much less than that. So I think that's something that other people will consider as well.
Man, when you say I bought tokens for a lot less than that, all I'm thinking is dog with hat.
Yeah.
Dog with hat. I have avoided dog with that, but yeah.
Yeah, we missed it.
Crazy.
We missed the X's, boys.
Yeah, 17,000x or whatever. Jesus.
You bet.
Jay, you
Mind
are
if I
muted,
share
friend.
my screen again there, boys?
Yeah, go ahead and share your screen.
Okay. So again, we're on the pools page here. Now we're going to take a look at this real big pool at the top here. I don't know a lot about this pool in particular, except I do have some small personal involvement with it. And the reason why is because it's paying up to 200% APR. And some days this thing is only over 300% APR, and it fairly consistently has fairly good numbers like this. And there's a reason for that. So we did the breakdown before of where the APR comes from and how, you know, the 2.5x boost gets you at the top. But the reason this pool has such high APR is because of the votes that have gone to this pool. Now, this, I believe the RBC token, I think is real big coin. I think it's a meme community. I don't know what else this token does. It's on the Fux exchange and has been here for a while and pays really good APR because the founders know what they're doing and have provided a liquidity in such a way that their community can get up to 200% without selling the token that they already have. So a huge advantage. So let's take a look at how that happened. If we go to this VE Fux page, this is the voting page. This determines which pools get the most votes. So let's find this. Oh, here's the real big pool. It has currently 4% of the votes are going towards this pool, right? Now, some pools have a much higher percentage of the votes. We can see the VE Fux pool has, 22% of the votes. The Shelby Apples pool with Fiat and Hex, that's a great one too. I really like that one. Has 8%. But the real big pool has a larger APR than those two by far, like, more than double, almost 4 times in the case of the Fux pool, because it's only $276,000 and it has 4% of the votes. And this is how the math worked out. And we won't go into the exact details on the equation, but like, more votes is better, and votes to a smaller pool give a larger result per dollar as far as APR goes. And this will go up and down, but it's like, as far as sustainability, like, these guys have been hanging up here for months now. Like, it's, they're on it. It's pretty interesting. And their community is clearly participating. Like, we have multiple liquidity providers. We have people adding and removing, like, an active community who understands these things can really incentivize a token and give you a reason to not only not sell it, but provide liquidity for it so other people can buy it with less slippage, and that any price impact won't be as severe. So, huge community builder here, huge, number go up factor, in my opinion, like, though this is, more complicated way to look at things, I understand, but there's value here. So then these votes are directly worth money. So controlling these votes is a huge thing. And where the votes come from is staking the prime Fux, right? That's how you get the votes, is getting more prime Fux and staking it for up to a year in this case. Although, of course, with 2 Fux, we give you the receipt token and you can sell it if you want to. But the votes on 2 Fux are controlled exclusively by the holders of the 2 Fux token, right? So the prime 2 Fux, that receipt token that we give you, well, that one is just a receipt for a yield token. But who gets to control the votes? Those votes go directly proportionally to the holder of the 2 Fux token. And I just want to take a quick note to mention that the 2 Fux protocol is not live yet. There's been some scam tokens. Don't get scammed. Go to the Telegram room, talk to the guys, figure out what's going on, right? But like, yeah, we're not live. This is in development. We're 2-3 months out at most, but yeah, just be aware. But we end up having, let's say we end up having like half of the total votes on 2 Fux over a period of 2 or 3 years from now. Is that likely? Is it possible? I believe it is. And the reason that I believe that is that we actually have an example of what we've done, the protocol that we're forking from Ethereum, and it's called Aura Finance. Okay. Now, Aura Finance is a fork of another protocol called Convex. Convex works with Curve, which is another really big DEX on Ethereum and some other chains. Now, Balancer is kind of like a fork of Curve. There's a little more to it than that, but it's like the updated, like, advanced version. And Balancer V2, which Fux is a copy of, is like, that's like, that is the top, the top dog as far as technology goes, with liquidity providing stable pools and stuff like that. It's really awesome. Now, Aura, working with Balancer, is doing the same thing that 2 Fux is going to do with Fux, in that it's giving people a yield boost. Then it's also giving people voting power based on the amount of what they call like VE BAL, but basically the same thing. So they own they're just a hair off having 53% of the total voting power on Balancer. That is so huge. Like that is worth millions and millions of dollars to be able to direct that voting power. Like, literally, fortunes will be made and lost off 53% of the voting power. So, and we're starting earlier than these guys. To say that we'll get to that 50% plus range of the total voting power on the Fux exchange in 2-3 years, like, it's not a promise. We don't guarantee anything, but like, yeah, I feel pretty confident that we're going to start off with a very decent amount of voting power, and that we will progress to a truly amazing amount of voting power, and that these votes will be worth money, because that's the only thing you're voting on. So I think people will be interested. What do you guys think?
I think that this is definitely quite interesting. I'll get to you here in a second, Jay. I just wanted to double check that I got the links right. I just posted them up in the chat. We got t.me/capital2 and then capital Fux, and then we've also got www.2fux.io. Those are the correct websites. Yes.
Well, I think one you just put up is our Telegram room.
Correct.
And second one is the website. And the website also links to the Telegram room. So, starting at 2fux2phux.io, if anybody's concerned, we always got to be really careful in crypto with this stuff. And to be clear, guys, there's no option to connect your wallet to anything on 2Fucks right now. So like you can look, we have a demo there. You can see what the screens are going to look like when it's live. But yeah, like if it's not going to ask you to connect anything. Come to the Telegram room and we'll give you the rundown. We know this is complicated, but I think in the case of the Pulse and Hex communities, people who understand how like security works, how Trezor wallets work, and have an inkling of what liquidity providing is, even if you're not solid on how you could participate, we can explain it to you. We'll take as much time as required, and we can walk you through that process. I don't care whether you're doing it through our exchange or not. Like, we're willing to help you with that. So you have to keep yourself safe. We're not a security service, but we're willing to walk people through this process.
Yep. And I'm in the Telegram chat as well. I asked the question, do you guys have a test net yet? You do not currently. But yeah, it is coming. And when it does, maybe me, Tracker, and somebody else who wants to join might do one of our little special deep dives into it, because I think this is going to be something a lot of fun to have a look at. Yeah, no, there's a lot of moving pieces here, and the way I've explained it, now I know this may flabbergast some people, but I've omitted a lot of things to make it simpler. So we can dive really, really deep, Nate. If you want to get into it, come talk to Yellow Cake. He's the one who can take you down the rabbit hole. And there's a lot of things going on. There's a lot of ways for like pro or expert users like you to make money with this protocol. So, it's something that we can definitely look at. So we were talking about the votes and how like our goal is to have a very large percentage of the votes, and that our users get to direct where those votes go, right? And of course, like they're going to be voting in their own interest. So like if you're in something like that great time pool, like you're in the internet money community, you're providing liquidity there. Even if you weren't providing liquidity there, but that was, KG and Don, they were on your team, like, you're rooting for them, and you're holding that token, even if you're just holding it, and that's a good token to hold. It provides some yield just by holding it. So there's an argument for that. If you voted for that pool, then every community member who participates is going to get a higher amount of yield, right? Which of course is going to lead to, more people are participating, less people selling your token, perhaps. That seems possible, right? And it's going to benefit the community. So, if you participate in 2Fucks and you're directing a portion of our very large pool of prime fucks, quite likely much larger, 1% of what we have, might be more than you have in almost every case, I suspect. We don't, we can't guarantee, but yeah, that's one of the prime things our protocol is interested in and our team is interested in, is having a very large controlling vote in the Fox ecosystem. So if you participate with us and you're directing that vote and you're pumping a pool like that great time pool, you're helping your entire community. It's not just you. It's not just the people liquidity providing even. It's the whole community having a benefit of another option rather than selling to extract, a financial position from that token. Yeah. So, and since you're getting what you're getting when you'll provide is a token that does have substantial value, that moves up with the market and has utility, the Fux token, right? Or in the case of if you're using the 2Fux front end, you're getting potentially multiple tokens that have additional utility. Well, yeah, there's some cool things there.
Yeah, I think a really good example that you actually demonstrated for us earlier about just the power of having the voting potential, right? Is with that really big pool. So as far as I know, I'm in the same boat as you. As far as I know, that the really big coin is just a meme coin, right?
I think so.
And so the assumption is because it's a meme coin, it doesn't have any other utility outside of people selling it, right? But because that pool is incentivized by the gauge system, right? They get a really big boost. Like you said, there's a 4%. They have 4% of the votes within that pool. That incentivizes people to participate in that pool and not sell the really big coin, and instead provide liquidity in that pool, right? So that's super cool, because something that may not have a utility outside of just being a dumb coin now suddenly does have utility.
So Jay, that pool's paying like up to roughly 200% right now, and it has 4% of the vote. What do you think would happen if the amount of value locked in the pool stayed the same, but it had 8% of the vote?
Well, that's definitely gonna be good news for the appreciation of the token, right? Of the RBC.
Totally. So
Am I
like
smelling
when
a
you double the
transition?
votes, you double the yield, the bonus yield in the Fux token, right? So like the math won't be exact because there'll be some coming from the swap fees. But I know on that RBC pool in particular, it's very little from the swap fees. It's almost all bonus APR. So you double the votes that are going to that pool, and you almost double the yield. You could be almost up to 400% in this case, right? And then so we're past the 1% a day mark, right? And not on some sleazy drip like fly by night, protocol that like might not be here tomorrow, like on the official fork of Balancer V2 for the Pulse chain with a huge community, tremendous support, and a great team and many audits behind it, right? So you're past 1% a day, and it's not like junk. Like that's pretty awesome.
Agreed.
Is there? I was gonna say, is there a magical system by which people could buy more votes from other people or something like that? My transition sense is tingling here.
Well, that sounds like you're talking about bribes, Will, and I'm really glad you brought that up. Let's talk bribes.
Let's talk bribes, boys. I love it.
So I have to give some small caveats when we talk about bribes. So like our protocol, that we're building is 2 fucks, and we give more fucks. Now, one of the ways we give more fucks is that, we're really hoping to under promise and over deliver for the community. Like we know that and we're doing a sacrifice right now, which I'll get to in a minute, but we know like people have been, there's some sour grapes about how some of these sacrifices went, and some of the difficulties the community has had with things being not quite what you expected. So we're under promising and over delivering on what we're going to provide to the community. We're building a secondary protocol. You can find it at bribery.io. That's BRI, then Berry, BERRY.io. That's just a placeholder right now. Just, it'll give you the logo. It says coming soon. But that's where it's going to be. And that's where the bribes are going to happen. And we're forking another big Ethereum project that called Hidden Hand, which does the same thing with Balancer and some other ecosystems. And that's where you're going to be able to sell your votes that you collect on 2 fucks, like the voting power that 2 fucks has. You'll have an option to either use that voting power yourself, so delegate it to yourself inside the protocol. It'll say that, and choose where to vote. You can delegate it to the protocol. So you can say like, 2 fucks, please decide where to vote for me. And then 2 fucks is likely going to vote for things that benefit the ecosystem in general, right? So, like if you're looking for an easy option, that's there. But another really interesting option that, I think people should probably look very closely at, regardless of what their plan is you can delegate your votes to Bribery and then choose to either take the highest bribe that's on the table for your votes, right? Or go down a list of bribes. So the bribes are there before you decide that you want to do this. You can go down the list and choose the bribe that suits your interests. So let's say you're in a particular pool, the real big coin pool there, or the great time pool, and like the founders in those communities, or maybe some whales in those communities, they're like just the community itself came together and they put up a bribe. It's like a bid. You can go and take that bid. And even if it wasn't the top bid, but you were heavily involved in that pool, well, you can really have your cake and eat it too in that scenario and get paid to eat your cake, which is, what I really like. So you're going to take a bribe for maybe the thing you were going to vote for anyway, that would have benefited you anyway. And then that bribe money is completely new. Like, that's not like, we're not like an entropy loop here where everything gets worse and worse. Like, no, this was outside money that's coming in, that's getting paid to you in another token that the briber will decide. Obviously there'll be an approved list of, things that are not terrible. And, that is money that's not directly part of the ecosystem, that's coming in from outside users, that's paying you to vote for something that either you're not too worried about or that you would have voted for anyway. And there is just an option to delegate to the protocol, take the highest bribe on the table if you're not worried about that. So you could even be a person who's not participating in liquidity providing. You have staked 2 fucks tokens, like the 2PHUX token, and that controls the voting power and directly proportional to what you have. That's how much votes you'll have to sell for bribes. And when we look at the comparables on Ethereum, and there are because we can see, if we look at Aura Finance and how their bribes interact, they're it's huge. Like, people are making very consistently 3 to 5% of their bag a month in selling every voting cycle, selling for bribes, right? So the Aura token is 75%. Sorry, it's around 75 cents, and bribes are going for like a penny, right? So like that's more than 1% per vote in that ecosystem. And since you're voting 3 or 4 times a month, that adds up very quickly. And that's how you get that 3 to 5%. And when something big happens, like a new token comes out that has a gauge pool and people are competing, like founders and big protocols are competing with each other. Well, once they're aware of this bribery marketplace, those bribes could go crazy. There could be spikes in value over time. It'll be like fairly consistent, I think. But there's going to be days where the bribes are going for 5, 10x what they are on a regular day. That's totally possible. People will FOMO into bribes just like they're going to FOMO out of bribes. So there's going to be some deals for founders and protocol whales that are involved in ecosystems where if they stay on this, if other people are sleeping, they'll be able to pick up votes for really great deals and pump their community like you wouldn't believe. There'll probably be some hilarious upsets, but though it'll go the other way too. There's going to be days where the 2Fucks users who are putting forward their votes for bribes are going to get 5, 10x what it is on a normal day if people are fighting over those votes. And since this ecosystem, like the Fux exchange, is so strong and could eventually be the biggest exchange on the Pulse chain, I think that's going to happen.
I love that you can get paid to do what you were going to do anyway. It reminds me of almost like Robert Greene's 48 Laws of Power kind of thing. Like if you don't tell anyone what you're going to do, but you have power and your decision has leverage over like what someone else wants, then they're incentivized to bring you onto their team, even if you are going to be doing it anyway. So it's just like that. I love the name. I love the branding. I love the bribe stuff. It all flows together very well. Where did you guys where did you guys come up with this? You said you forked heavy hand or something along that.
That's one of the protocols we're forking is it's called Hidden Hand, and that's the bribe one. So and they interact with multiple things on Ethereum and some other chains. So there's other bribe protocols. I found that to be the best one. I think Yellowcake agreed, and it's set up to work with Aura Finance, which is what we're forking. So it's a very good fit. So now, unlike on Ethereum though, like that protocol is like a completely separate community from Aura or from Balancer, and it has its own concerns. It's a tokenized thing. Our bribery protocol is not tokenized at all, right? We only have one community that we're interested in. We don't, bribery is an extra thing. It's not on the 2Fucks white paper. It's a separate protocol. It's going to have a separate audit, and so on and so forth. It's obviously that the same team is working on it. And so we have the interest of the same community in mind. And that's not the case in, Hidden Hand on Ethereum. So there's some certain advantages there. And, and I can't give away the exact details because we can't create expectations. But like on Ethereum, there's a fee of 8 to 10% for the bribes that, that Hidden Hand charges. And now obviously that is going to their separate communities, token holders, right? As part of, something like that or that team. And, I'm not too worried about what they do, but we only have one community to look at, and we are not launching another token for this protocol. So when we decide where to point that bribery contract, I feel like there's a good chance it's going to be people that we already sort of have things in common with that we like. So I think that's something that when you do the math of that, it actually substantially improves, like more than triples potentially the yield that some users could get if that's where that was pointed. So something to think about. That's all. Yeah.
No, that's super cool. So like me as a user, I can take the Prime 2Fucks token that I received by participating in your protocol, and I could use that as my individual voting power, or I can go to bribery and either give that voting power over to the people that I might have supported regardless, right, and get paid for it, or I could just go to the open market and say, okay, which community is trying to get the most amount of voting powers because they're trying to accumulate like the voting power, right, to boost the bonuses that they're having. Maybe they're forming like a new pool or something, right? That's pretty damn cool, because like you said, that opens up the gate for if a new community comes in, they want to create a pool, they want to get the biggest boost possible, but they need voting power. Then you can look at the open market and say, these guys are paying a premium for my voting power because they're trying to get the biggest boost in their pool.
Yep. Now
That's
you
super
almost
cool.
got it exactly right, Jay. There's just one point that we got to go back on. Is
Okay.
we have two tokens in the ecosystem, right? There's the prime 2 fucks, and that's the receipt token for the prime fucks that's permanently locked forever. Now you can stake that with us, or you can sell it. Right now, it is the token that pays the most yield for staking. Right? It gets like the largest percent of the protocol fees go towards that token. So that's a consideration, but it doesn't control the votes. The other token, the 2 fucks token that's native to our ecosystem, that controls all the votes.
Gotcha.
And so that token, it's not an either or. It's not either, oh, I'll stake the token for yield because that token gets yield too, or I'll sell my votes for bribes. It's both. So in order to get the voting power, you stake the 2 fucks token. There's a 16-week lock on that when you stake it, which is the same as on the Ethereum protocol. And after which time the token is free and you can restake it or do whatever you want. But while it's staked, you get both the yield that the token receives for being part of the ecosystem. You get the votes and you get the option to sell those votes for bribes. So it's like you get everything. It's not an either or in this scenario. And so since we've like on Fux, they have the 1 token, basically the Fux token that gives both the boost and the bribes, right? In our case, we've split it up. So you have those are like separate things and you can have it all.
Shout out to the big super chat real quick from yellowcake.crypto. Thanks, DGen Roundtable, for the amazing stream. Yes, with the $50 super chat. Thank you so very much, Yellowcake Crypto. We are
Canadian dollars, but yeah.
Oh, Canadian dollars. Oh no, Trump bucks, or not Trump, Trudeau bucks. Trudeau bucks. Hey, it's fantastic. I don't know what the exchange rate is, but that's awesome though. Thank you so very much, yellowcake.crypto. We are more than happy to have your compatriot over here shouting out your guys' protocols and teaching us and teaching the fam at home like how to use this whole thing and how to get bribes and how to give 2 fucks about the Richard Hart ecosystem and
this
all
is
that
a
stuff.
fantastic crash course to
Jay. We're covering a lot of stuff here, guys. Like this isn't just Fux. Like you guys should know how to use Balancer now. You should know how to use Aura now. Probably even Convex and Curve. You could figure out like if you picked up what we're laying down here. Like this is like if you know how to use this on the Pulse chain. Like this is huge building blocks of crypto in general, right? Like this is the forefront of decentralized, finance is things like Balancer and Fux. So yeah, it's really important that everybody understands at least a bit of how this stuff works.
Exactly. Yeah, there's a lot of alpha going on in this whole stream. Like Jay, I'm looking at you over here, and this is like
I got a few pages worth of notes, man.
Yeah, you are in the classroom right now, man. You're just like professor, teach me.
I'm excited because this is one of those. It's like Abdul mentioned, right? It's one of those skills that if you understand what's going on with this specific protocol, it wouldn't be unreasonable to assume that other L1s like Pulse Chain that might come across the line are also going to fork Balancer. They're also going to fork Hidden Hand. And so if you understand how to use these protocols here with the 2FUX protocol, then you also understand how to use those protocols in different ecosystems if they do manage to appear, right? So there's a ton of value from learning from Abdul and learning about the 2FUX protocol. So yeah, there's like definitely excited is an understatement for sure.
And there are other forks of Balancer. Right? There's a whole bunch of forks of Balancer. Funny enough, Fux is actually the best fork of Balancer. It's done better than any other fork ever. but there's other very substantial ones on different in different ecosystems. I believe on Phantom. Maybe Nate, you is it Beethoven? Is that Phantom?
Yeah, Beethoven X. That's the one. Actually, I was gonna go there, but I was like, nah, you guys got this. Just deal with it.
Yeah, and that's another discussion. There's a lot of things going on there too. But if you know how to do this, you'll be able to figure that out. All right, and vice versa, I believe.
There's
it's big.
Quick shout out to a member in the chat. Alex Santos said, I learned more in this stream about Fux and Fiat. And also big shout out to Alex. I've been binge watching the DGen Roundtable videos and learned way more than what I expected. The SEC video review was fire. So shout out to the Alex Santos. If you are not already a member of the DGen Roundtable Telegram, go ahead and scan that QR code down below. Which direction? Oh, I point this direction. Yeah. Scan that QR code down below or go to bit.ly/degenerate_roundtable and join, or you can click the link in the description. Either way, join the DGen Roundtable. We do interviews like this quite often. Every 2 Wednesdays or so like that, we interview members of the community, or we interview cool people. Fast Abdoul, actually, I want to give a shout out to you, brother. You reached out to us. You reached out to me. I think you said, "Who are you? The crazy dude with the captain's steering wheel or whatever the hell?" When we first started messaging.
Yeah.
But yeah, like shout out to you, bro. How did you end up finding us? Like we're not terribly crazy like popular in the space. We're a relatively new channel and stuff. How did you hear about the DGen Roundtable?
Well, I keep you could say that I keep abreast of as much as possible in regards to what's going on in the Pulse chain. I'm in all the Telegram rooms, pretty much all the ones that will have me anyway. And
Yeah.
I monitor everything that happens on YouTube as best I can. So like I saw you guys come up, and then I started looking at who you were hanging with. So, and I think I saw you with Crypto Sloth one day, maybe. And I was like, oh, okay, these guys must be legit. Like Crypto Sloth is kind of like my indicator for like, okay, these guys, first off, you're probably not idiots. So that's good. And so I watched because you probably want to hang out with idiots
Most
for
of
a
the
long
time.
So that was good. And I was like, okay, that's good. And then like, you're saying good stuff. So I was like, some things you guys are like, seem like you're pros on, and some things you're learning as you go. And it's like, okay, there's value here. There's a community here, and people are engaging. Even though it wasn't a huge crowd at the first time I saw you, it was like, okay, the long term of this, this is going to be one of the top, 5 influencer groups on the Pulse chain, even if it's not today. So I'm very happy to participate in, your early, what I see as your early days.
Excellent, bro. Well, I appreciate you reaching out to us. Like this little interview right here would not have been possible without you like saying hello. I would have never, because I am very limited in the amount of things that I watch on YouTube as far as like branching out and looking around and stuff. But since you reached out to me, Sloth was actually he was the first person that I reached out to. I'm like, hey, who the hell is this Fast Abdoul guy? He looks like he's some shady Serbian camel trader or whatever the hell. I thought you were a joke at first, and I was like, what the hell is this crap? I'm about to get scammed here or some stuff. But I watched your interview with him and with Corey and the gentleman on the Alliance channel, and just several of your interviews, and it's been nothing but fantastic stuff. So
thanks, man.
I appreciate you doing what you're doing, man. This is some fantastic cool products that you're producing here.
Yeah, this is absolutely a lot of fun, especially for me. Like I'm having a lot of fun with this, like talking about like yielding and all that. It's actually hilariously enough. I feel like there's not enough people who go out and purposely try to make money printers and all that. It seems a little bit odd that it seems kind of like poo-pooed off to the side a little bit, At least that's the way I feel.
Yeah. And this is different than, at the early part of this chat today, we talked about some of those like DGen yield farming things. Like this is not that. Like the protocol we're forking, like Aura, which is a fork of Convex. Like Convex has almost $2 billion locked in it on Ethereum. Like these are huge money, right? And one of the reasons that we chose this protocol to fork, it's kind of funny actually, because we actually broke ground on a different project with we had our dev team and everything, and the same guys obviously because they're very competent, but we were working on something else, and then we found that this piece was missing from the Pulse chain, and from a like a fees perspective and a total value locked perspective, and all the major indicators of what was on Ethereum and what wasn't yet on Pulse chain. This was the biggest by far and most interesting by far missing piece of the puzzle for the Pulse chain. So, we really feel like we're adding value to the chain in general by bringing over this huge and very complicated on a protocol and contract level. So it's, it's a lot to bite off, but to have this on the Pulse chain is going to draw the eye of people who, are interested in serious DeFi, right? Not meme DeFi, though memes have a place in this ecosystem with, some of those liquidity pools, but this is serious, heavy user DeFi. These are the things that Ethereum whales will look at and be like, oh, they got a Convex fork. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. It's time. There's probably some guy sitting on 3,000 ETH who's waiting for the Convex fork before he bridges onto the Pulse chain, right? Stuff like that. This is big business. This isn't number go down forever stuff. It's pretty interesting. And it's not just for advanced users, even though I know it's super heavy and the advanced users have a place where you want to talk to you. And like protocol founders, people like that, like there's a place for you here. You know, we want to talk to you because there's a benefit for entire communities. But little guys, you got $50 in liquidity, right? And you want to make 200% APR. Maybe we can help with that.
Yeah.
So, and you know, we're happy to have those people, and there's no whale benefit to participating with the protocol as far as who gets the biggest boost, right? Yep. So everybody's friendly. Now, whales should be looking at the votes, and they should be looking at the bribes, and they should be buying up those bribes, and they should be pushing serious value to the pools that they want, right? Yep. And in the bear market, maybe that's going to be all stable coins. But right now, I think it's going to be some of these other protocol pools that get pushed into the 200-300% range potentially, you know, which we can already see you know, some days on the Fux exchange. So yeah, watch for it, guys. It's this is not something to sleep on for, you know, tiny guys or for, you know, founders and whales. Like there's a place here for everybody, which is one of the reasons we chose this protocol. Is this is about, you know, it's complicated, but it's about the friendliest protocol that there is in terms of it doesn't really hurt anybody. Yeah. Right? Like, sure, we're controlling votes from the Fux community, but in return, we have a machine that buys it and never sells it. Like everybody who participates will have a benefit in some way. And it's like, as far as like who it hurts, like, you know, I it's really hard to pinpoint that population. I think everybody can just be friends and participate. We have an agnostic Telegram room. Like, come and talk to us about how your protocol can benefit from liquidity in scenarios like this. Yeah. As I mentioned, we don't control which protocols get gauges, but like, you know, we'll tell you what we know. And if you do get a gauge, yeah, we can help you boost it. Chances are. So something for everybody.
Yeah, I have a hard time believing that this hurts anybody either. But because even with like the bribery system, your votes are there on the open market, right? Yep. So the people that have the people that have the capital who want to buy up your votes so that they can, you know, boost the amount of votes that they have in a specific pool, right? In the Fux ecosystem, like they have to bid on the open market, right? So it's like it's a fair system.
Yeah, so, and they don't have to do it. It's all controlled by contracts too. It's not like this is an OTC voting thing. Like you're delegating with contracts to, you know, to sell these votes. And I'll give you guys a little bit of alpha that I can't guarantee this, right? Because there's multiple different parties involved, and you know we're talking to different teams, but we know how this stuff works. Yellow Cake in particular knows exactly how this stuff works, and there could be an opportunity on bribery.io to not just sell your 2 Fux votes, which, you know, we can see on Ethereum, they're probably the most valuable ones per vote. But there might be an option to also sell your Fux votes, like your locked VE Fux that you can't sell. Maybe you'll be able to delegate your votes and sell it. Well, you know, that's something that we're working on. There could be a way to do that. Maybe even something like 9inch will have an option to, you know, participate in our bribery protocol as well. You know, maybe on multiple chains, like if they have a voting system towards which pools get the most yield, right? Now, certainly something like 9inch won't work with 2 Fux because it's not built for, you know, like a fork of pancake swap, basically. But as far as yield goes, if you're voting on yield in a DAO system with like a VE voting system, that's what bribery is being built for. So it's even possible that a DAO could participate where the votes weren't going towards yield. And there could still be a bribe on voting on what to change the logo for that particular token or community. And if you bought up enough of the votes via bribes and you want to turn it into a picture of, like, you know, Gollum from Lord of the Rings, like, well, this might be your way to do that. I think that would be awesome.
That'd be awesome. And then, one other thing, too. So when it comes to staking, right?
So we got 2 things.
Is the UI going to be looking a lot like how the Fux is already looking? Like, so basically all the pools that they have on Fux, it's the same thing that is going to be on 2 Fux, correct?
We're using like we're not like copying their UI, but it is very similar. So like there's 3. You're going to stake your LP tokens that you bring over, and it's literally like be pretty much the same thing. So there's no lock. You stake it, you unstake it. Very straightforward. You'll have a claim page, very similar. So if you can use Fux, you're going to be fairly comfortable. And then the voting is going to happen on a very similar page to how the voting happens on Fux. And that's one of the things where like Pulse Chain needs some extra workarounds. It's like Pulse Chain is not exact same as Ethereum. There's some missing pieces. And one of the things that's missing is like something called Snapshot that allows for like voting to happen. So, we're going to be building that the same as Fux built theirs. And so it'll probably look fairly similar because obviously there's a large user crossover. So yeah, if you can use Fux, I think you're going to be comfortable with just about every aspect of the staking. It's just important to know that we have 3 different tokens that you're staking depending on how you're doing it. So there's your LP, right, that you're bringing over, and that's not locked at all. You can stake it and unstake it, but you'll get the bonus yield if you stake it, right? Perfect. Then we have the Prime 2 Fux token, which is your receipt token for the Prime Fux that's in our ecosystem that you can sell at any time, and you can stake and unstake that, not locked. And then we'll have the 2 Fux token that gives you a portion of the yield as well as the votes that you can sell for bribes. And that token is a 16-week lock. Okay. And during that time, you can sell your votes for bribes, you get the yield, and you can, or you can vote yourself as you choose. Many options, but they're all fairly straightforward.
Okay, thank you for clearing that up. And then one other thing.
Yeah.
You wouldn't happen to have a little bit of a timeline for us, would you, about kind of like how things are going to be releasing all the way up until maybe launch?
Sure. So we're running a sacrifice right now. Okay. Oh. And we'll do some more detail. Thanks, Will. Like, yeah, we'll get into that. But like one thing that I guess we haven't told very many people, but we broke ground on this like 6 months ago. Right. Because we understood very quickly that this was a major thing and it wasn't a tiny thing. So by the time we even announced to anyone that we had a project, a protocol that we were working on, we're very close to the finish line. Like we're working on the nitty gritty little details, testing and things like that. So yeah, it's not going to be long. We don't guarantee a timeline, but I can tell you that like our sacrifice, we set it with an initial bonus of like a 25% bonus in terms of points that you get for participating. For anybody who participates in the first 60 days, I think there's about 40 days left in that, give or take. And I feel like there's a good chance that regardless of, where the sacrifice is at the end of that 60 days, that we might just shut it down because we'll be, we'll be ready for audits, or we'll have our audits back and we'll have a protocol to provide. I want to use this myself, and I know Yellow Cake does too. And like, yeah, it's almost hard because we know, like, that it's almost ready. And it's been audited many times on Ethereum, but we're going to audit it again. And as soon as we get that back, yeah, there'll be a protocol. So to say 2 or 3 months, that's far from impossible.
I think that's actually perfect timeline because the 2 or 3 months from now. Yeah,
it's not terrible. Yeah.
That's not terrible at all, my friend. That's actually pretty good if I do say so myself.
But we started a long time ago because we knew this is a big piece to like a big protocol to build. Like this is more, this is more substantial and will carry more total value locked like than most things that people are looking at right now. To say this will be like top 5 on the Pulse chain for like the amount of like economic energy that's both moving through it and locked in it is like mostly just math. Like it's not crazy at all.
I want to.
Okay, those things. Oh no.
I want to do a quick mention here for the sacrifice. There's something that I think is important concern. You will get preferential treatment in the sacrifice if you sack either stable coins or the Fux coin or the Prime Fux. Excuse me. Yeah. So I just want to mention that I'm looking on the sacrifice page right now, which is 2fux.io/sacrifice. And it's got a little 2% bonus for USDT, USDC, Coast, DAI, USDL, PXDC, which hasn't been released yet. And then Prime Fux gets a 3% sacrifice. So my understanding, my understanding of this from what I've listened to, and Fux as well. That I skimmed over that one. But yes, my understanding for these preferences is that if you have stable coins being sacrificed, then if you choose to, or if the need comes, obviously there's no expectations or anything, but if the need comes to have to sacrifice or to sell sack money in order to gain capital to make decisions and do things, then selling stable coins has less negative externalities than selling like other coins that might be important in the Richard Hart ecosystem.
Yeah.
Say like Hex or Pulse, or
When you sell
incentive.
stables, you're not dumping another community, right?
Exactly. And also, so and again, this is no expectations, and I don't want to take words out of your mouth or imply that I speak for you guys or anything,
Say
but
whatever you like. Will, you go ahead.
but with you guys having a higher percentage of like boosted sacrifice efficacy for the fucks and for the prime fucks, I would imagine that like like your guys protocol locks those things up forever. That's the point of like of what the prime fucks, or excuse me, what the two fucks thing is all about. It's all about
Once
locking
fucks
this
comes
stuff
in,
away.
it never comes out. It gets locked in the protocol and keeps building. And we really like fucks. We want to have a lot of it locked in the protocol forever.
Yes. And so this isn't to say that there's like a definitive correlation between the sacrificing of that and the whatever, but there is something to be noted that these coins are rewarded the highest of all the coins that can be sacrificed. So if there are people that are
Bill.
if there are people that are going to be sacrificing like those two coins, the fucks and the prime fucks, or excuse me, fucks and prime fucks, they are rewarded the highest, and stable coins are rewarded the second highest. So if you want to get some sort of bonus for this for the sacrifice, and you had mentioned that there's a 25% bonus for doing it in the first 60 days, which started what, January 5th?
January 5th, yeah. So
yep.
And I would be concerned if people were planning for after the 60 days anyway. That might not be an option. I suspect we could have a protocol, very close to that timeline. So that might not be an option. Then the other consideration is, unlike many other sacrifices, and it's easy to Monday morning quarterback these things, right? Like it's, nobody knows what's going to happen. But, I have personally participated in various sacrifices, and I noticed that the capped sacrifices, the sacrifices where they said this much and no more, and where, there was a limit on the total amount of dollars that they would take, those by and large are, almost entirely have done very well. People are very comfortable with the results of that. And so that's what we're doing. Like we have a max of $2 million that this sacrifice will go to. And, that will help us get a list of people that, we know we have like agreements with, and the things that we consider important. And we've listed that on our sacrifice page. I think it's something everybody can agree with. So, but we're going to cap that at $2 million, and we won't go by that no matter what. So if we hit that next week, if we hit it tomorrow, the sacrifice is over. And for this protocol, that's, I believe, very reasonable. When you start to look at something that generally speaking is, a lot bigger than most protocols we have on the Pulse chain that maybe have, 50 million or 10 million or $15 million. And we have something that, is going to be much more substantial than those for a fraction of the sacrifice value. I think the math is good, and we have a lot of people, I think, who are waiting because we haven't rushed people like other protocols too. Like there is no better rate for anybody than there is right now, right? We have a 25% bonus, which honestly will turn into a not bonus because I think everybody's just going to get it because we're going to shut it down before then. So as far as sacrifice points, which is what we're talking about, goes, like that's it. But like it goes for the entire 60 days. Okay. So I have guys who've been DCAing their fucks yield every day. Every day they do it. We're not rushing you. Make a good decision. Talk to us. Educate yourself. And certainly, probably our sacrifice would have been bigger early on if we said, okay, in the first 10 minutes, which I've seen before, you get this rate, and after that it goes down. But no, same deal until the 60 days is over, which could be the end of the sacrifice anyway. So I think at close to the last 10 days of that, if we're not already full and the sacrifice is closed, I think it will go very quickly. But right now, take a look, understand what you're doing, read the page, see where the bonuses are for things like the Fux tokens, all right, that give you the 3% bonus. Check out the slippage if you're doing a large amount, as long as it's less than 3%, that's maybe a good option for you if you're moving from one token to another. And decide whether this is something you want to participate in. And I think people get to know us and they see our plans, they see our audits, they see the demo that we have, and they understand what we're bringing to the Pulse chain and how that's going to bring in the ETH whales. I think a lot of people will choose to participate in the sacrifice for the things that we think are important.
Excellent. Well, on the subject of go ahead, Nate. If you got something final.
Oh, I just wanted to comment on how cool that is that people are using their Fux yield as like a continual grip into it. Now that's really cool.
BCA.
That's actually something I haven't really come across yet.
Usually you can't, because it's usually there's a big cliff where you get half as much 2 weeks down the road, right? So people have to sell all their stuff right away to FOMO into a sacrifice. We're like a no FOMO sacrifice. We're like, do it the right way. Do it if something is pumped, sacrifice on a day where the thing is pumped, because you're going to get a better rate up until the 60 days, at which point the rate goes down by 25%, or the sacrifice is just over, or it's filled up at $2 million. So, we're giving people choices to make reasonable decisions. We want to deal with reasonable users.
Yeah, because you give 2 fucks, right?
We give 2 fucks. We give more fucks.
Even the way that you structure your sacrifice phase, it's like an act of good faith to everybody who wants to join in, right? It's not like, okay, there's this sense of urgency for you to dump as much money into the sacrifice within the first 10 days, because that's when you get the biggest bonus.
Nope,
the way that you guys are doing it, it's a consistent 25% bonus within the first 60 days. Probably not going to happen, because you're probably going to reach your limit by then. But I mean, once again, it's like a sign of good faith to the people who want to participate in your project.
If we don't reach our limit, the protocol is going forward no matter what. Yellow Cake was actually a big pusher of us just launching this, and I was considering that as well, because the concept's fine. We could have done it, but there's value in bootstrapping a protocol like this, and obviously we're reasonable managers of things, and we know that we can add a lot of value to the ecosystem if there is a bootstrapping component. But the bottom line is that if the sacrifice only did $1 million, the tokenomics of the project doesn't change. And how those tokenomics, how the percentage of the tokens are divvied up, that's unrelated to the sacrifice in any way. So if the sacrifice does $500,000, the tokenomics are the same. If it does $2 million, they're the same, and it can't go past $2 million. So, certainly there's a value proposition that people can understand. You can just do the math literally and, figure out, what you're going to get out of this arrangement. So, we're doing it in a way that's quite reasonable. And then one other thing that we've done differently from most of the major sacrifices, that are on the Pulse chain is how we've dealt with the whale bonus. And this is a bit of a contentious item because some people don't understand, and the ones who do are either you're a whale and you like it, or you're not and it hurts you. Okay, so on the Pulse X sacrifice, there was a 250% whale bonus. Okay, it means the top guys, top dollar, got a 250% bonus, right? And I don't know who the top guy was, but he sure wasn't me. And then it goes down. So it ends up being a bit of a tax on poor people, right? Or just on normal people, really, right? And a lot of those whales cashed out in a ridiculous way, and that can cause issues. So we're going to recognize if you're coming into our community, you're sacrificing for the things we believe in to the tune of $100,000 or what have you. Well, there's a place for you in our community. We're going to recognize that. So we've set a 25% volume bonus on the sacrifice, for points. So the top dollar gets 25%, the bottom dollar gets 0% bonus, but it's 10x lower than we've seen on other sacrifices, like Pulse X, Liquid Loans, etc. So whales are welcome. Come on in, guys. Right? We have a protocol that's made for you, but we want as many users as possible, and by making this very fair in regards to rewarding those people, but not unreasonably so. We feel that we're protecting the users of all sizes, including the whales. Why would you want to be a whale in a community that's just built for dumping? This is not a dump token. This is not a quick pump token, right? This is something that builds over time until it controls the vast majority of one of the bigger ecosystems on chain, right? So, this is a long-term play, and we want people to look at that, especially the whales. So that's in the math.
I like that.
Yeah, and what's really important to understand too about this is that kind of like how you're doing with the sacrifices, you're trying to help out everybody as much as possible, right? And it's not just like just let the rich whale basically dump on everyone's head, right? And when you're looking at the actual protocol of 2Fux itself, you're taking the actual Fux token, which is helping Fux itself stay higher afloat, because you're going to be purchasing a lot of their coin, which the coin itself or the token itself is going to be staying afloat, right? And then you're stabilizing it by locking it in, and so now that's going to be staying afloat. And then on top of it, people can go to you guys instead, right? To 2Fux instead. So if they don't have, if they're not a whale, and so now they can give extra help. Like this is a case of raising all boats, right?
Yep.
That's literally what is going on here.
Everybody can stake like a whale. Stake like you're a whale. Stake like you have $1 million. Once we get to that mark, which we don't guarantee, but like if we have $1 million of prime Fux, you're staking like you have $1 million of prime Fux, right? So even if you only have $250 in an LP position, why would you not do that? So it's kind of a no-brainer in my opinion. Though everybody should do their own research.
Yes, for sure. And you got the documents. As soon as you walk in there, heck, you just go into the Telegram and start asking questions. Easy peasy. Hey, I'm in there. If you want to go ahead and hit me up as well, I'll help you out. But no, this is a quality protocol, quite frankly. And Charlie was talking from Cultivate Crypto, was talking about what is the issue with Pulse Chain currently, and he was saying, well, the issue we have is that there's not enough quality projects yet. And then, in fact, the only one that he named at the time, and when he said this, it was the only one that came out in time, was Fux. That was it. Everything else, had not come out yet. And so these are one of the, I would call this one of the quality protocols that comes out, right? Like Liquid Loan's another one, Power City's another one, Tetra's another one, right? They're starting to come out now, and things are going to be ramping up really soon. So no FOMO, obviously, but you do need to get your stuff straight, and you need to start seeing what you're going to be jumping into, guys.
Thanks for that, Nate. I agree. Yeah, no, this is the time for the Pulse Chain, right? Like the numbers starting to go up, but like the whole world hasn't caught on to what we have yet. And once they do, it'll be too late. So, you have to, some people need to take a risk if they want to get on the ground floor of things, which I know sounds cheesy. It sounds terrible, but we know this is real. We know Richard Hart made this, the Pulse Chain, and that, we have some quality builders. So if you can analyze, if you have the capability or people you trust that you can consult with to analyze which protocols are going to be the good ones, man, is there ever an opportunity here for everybody?
Yep. No, I mean, I completely agree. And I don't think it's corny at all, because there is something to be said about first mover advantage, right? So if you get you're able to get into the ground floor of something like this, that's obviously I mean, you could just look at, like you mentioned at the very beginning of the stream, that by total value locked, the Fux protocol is second on Pulse Chain, and everything below it, like combined, doesn't even kind of add up. So just by that simple metric alone, you know where the majority of users are going after their after Pulse Chain. So definitely agree there.
Yeah, something to consider.
Excellent. Well, gentlemen, we have gone a little bit past our normal 2-hour mark. So what that tells me is that this episode has been chock-a-block full of fantastic information. We got to go ahead and start wrapping up right now. So I'm going to start with Mr. Fast Abdoul, because we start with we start with, dang it. I'm going to do it because I fucking can, right? So Mr. Fast Abdoul, where can the people find you? Where do you place most of your attention at? What is the best way for folks to reach out and see what you're doing? Let's go ahead and get the shout outs and the shills all going on here.
Okay, let's do it. The best place to find me by far is Telegram. I'm on Telegram. I'm aware of what's going on. You guys can't see it, but I'm surrounded by 6 screens right now. Okay, with 5 different chats and two YouTube shows. So I am aware of what's happening in the ecosystem. Reach out to me there. Join our Telegram group, please. That's the best place. That's where the alpha is going to get dropped first. That's where you can verify that you're not getting scammed. We have that in the chat, right? The Telegram room.
Yep, I am dropping it now.
Perfect.
I've just dropped your Twitter, dropped your Telegram. Keep going. As you go, I'll just add more links as you go. I'm looking
Excellent.
it up. Lickety
So
split.
then, of course, I'm a Fast Abdoul, as my name's spelt on the screen here on Twitter. There it is. Okay.
Yep.
You'll also find I Am Yellowcake on Twitter, and I believe it's under Prime 2 Fucks on Twitter. All of these things are linked via the Telegram room and the website. So, those are good places to start. So 2fucks.io is going to give you the link. And that'll lead you when we have the Bribeberry option up. You can go to that website too if you like, but it'll all be linked through the 2Fucks website. We're going to have all the options for you right there. So I encourage people mostly to join the Telegram room right now, but also take a look at the website. It's got all the links there that you need. You can verify all the details, all the sacrifice details are there. And there's even a demo of the protocol where you can look at what some of the actual screens are going to look like, and which buttons you'll press to interact, to access votes, access yield, right, to like compound your earnings. Like there's a built-in compounder on this thing. There's some details on that there, right? We haven't even touched on that. There's some really cool stuff. You'll see on our website we have a huge Tetra logo on there where it will have a button that leads you right to Tetra strategies. And that's the longer conversation, but like we have, with Neil and Sloth and Red Squirrel, like, we're going to have those guys with some alpha on how this stuff works. And we're going to have some Tetra strategies, like just a link to a page full of 2Fucks strategies. Every strategy that involves the Fucks exchange will be better with 2Fucks. And so it's all going to be there.
Outstanding. Excellent. Well, we appreciate you for joining us tonight, Mr. Fast Abdoul. Jay, where can the folks find you? What are you up to? Let's give your final goodbyes.
Gotcha. Before I do the outro for myself here, wanted to thank Fast Abdoul for coming on and giving us his time, his knowledge, his wisdom, because this has definitely been a heavy episode of information, but certainly well worth the time. So thank you so very much for coming on and doing this episode with us. And I am going to be very shameless here and ask that when your testnet does come out, that if you could come back on and go through the gang here, as far as like how do you to use a testnet, because when we did that with liquid loans, it provided our community such a valuable resource, because some guys are very they don't have really the time to research this thing. So when they were able to come to us and find that consolidated amount of information on how to use a testnet, and so that they were better prepared to use liquid loans when they went live. I would love for us to be able to provide that to our community with the 2Fucks protocol as well.
Our situation's a little bit different, but definitely, we can talk about the testing part and how we can prepare the community, because we're dealing with already live stuff, right? Like the Fucks exchange is live. We're doing live testing, like on the Pulse chain, so there's going to be some components that aren't quite the same as far as that goes, but there's definitely some learning opportunities and some testing that we can get the community involved with. Thanks, Jay.
Of course. And as always, guys, we'd like to thank you for spending some time with us. We know that, time is your most valuable asset. So we do appreciate that you spend some of that time here with us on this wonderful Thursday evening. You could be anywhere else, but you're here gaining this alpha from the gang. As always, you can find me on X at _P90Hex and on Instagram at agent_J Schroth. Mr. Nate, what do you got, sir?
Yeah, well, so regarding that, I would prefer to have the testnet up, so that way, if we are going to do a deep dive, I know one thing Tracker loves to do is legitimately go through it, with his cursor and everything, and take a look at things. But if that's not the case, kind of like in how Earn Protocol happened, we can just look through the kind of like the pictures and the diagrams, and we can kind of make a thing about that. But yeah, so I'm going to get with Tracker and see if this is something that he'd be willing to do. I'm pretty sure he would, because he absolutely loves diving into these types of things, especially if it's a quality project. That's kind of his deal. He's got super big brain up here.
Great brain.
With that being said, I will be doing my Ascending Man show again. Let off another week because of how literally been streaming every single day. Thanks a lot, Jay.
We are getting after it, man.
I know, good. Right? We've been going wild.
What a great problem to have.
But yeah, so I'm going to be doing my show on Q Star, the emergence of AGI, and what that means, and why why Sam Altman is wondering if they created a machine or a living creature, and it's going to be very interesting. So, you know, my show all about talking about interesting things. If you want to go ahead and hop by and then have a little conversation at the end, I usually kind of do it in the format of simply, hey, I got a little presentation. This is kind of my thoughts on it. And then I do it live because I would like to hear people's opinions on what my ideas are. And then we can have a conversation back and forth. But with that said, exactly. You know, I love, like, I get into these things where I'm just like, I wonder what that could be like, you know? And then I love hearing different ideas. I love it. Anyway, so Will, you want to take us out?
Yes, that is excellent, Nate, and I'll be sure to tune in live if I'm available, if I'm not doing some working and stuff. And also, oh yes, the DGen Roundtable administrator. Thank you, Mrs. Producer. If you haven't already, folks, like, comment, subscribe, and most importantly, join the Telegram. For now, it is free. It will not always forever be free. Again, thanks everyone. I read that in a little bit different order. But if you guys want to join our Telegram, you can scan the QR code that's down there. You can type in bit.ly/degenerate_roundtable into your URL, and that will take you directly there. You can click on the link below that's in the description, or you can just, you know, have fun staying poor forever. Fast Abdul, if you wouldn't mind, after we go offline here, just if you wouldn't mind sticking around in the green room, we'll do a quick little debrief after the show is over and everything. But folks, you guys can find me at Linktree/Will Stevenson. I will go ahead and drop the link. Oh, nope, that's the wrong one. That's the Hex Meetup chat. Well, you can you guys can find me at Linktree/Will Stevenson. That's where all my socials are. That's where all my Instagram, my Facebook, my Twitter, my everything is. I'm super duper doxed. I don't give a crap. Go ahead, find me, stalk me, whatever the hell. Doesn't make a difference to me. But that's where you guys can find me and what I'm doing. Most of my attention and efforts is being put into this Hex Meetup. Oh yeah, and Nate has also shouted out his link tree as well. Find that in the description below for the Ascending Man. But most of the effort that I'm putting forth right now is going into the Hex_Meetup Telegram that I've made, and it's basically just what my vision was, to create a decentralized mechanism for hexagons, or really any crypto enthusiast, but specifically hexagons, just because that's like who I like the most, to go out and meet each other. It's basically a Telegram room where anybody can make a room. Anyone can make a little sub channel that's more or less a geographic location where other folks in that sort of geographic location can chat with each other and check out, like, you know, what's going on in the local area. This is the weather. This is like the memes. This is like, you know, I hate the politicians, or hey guys, want to go drink a beer or go axe throwing or whatever the hell. But anyways, if you're a hexagon and you want to meet other hexagons, then go to t.me/hex_meetup. All right. And that's where you can find everything. Fast Abdul, I want to thank you for joining us on this fine Thursday. Jay and Nate, I want to thank you guys for joining us as well, and everyone in the comments and everyone who's watching. I appreciate you guys, whether you're on the replay or whether you're watching us live. Thank you so very much for joining us here. And I want you all, Mrs. Producer, go ahead and get ready to roll those final credits, because we are about to go here. I want to thank everyone for watching. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, I want you all to remember to degen responsibly.
In fact, we about to go up like.